اوكي، بدأنا في رد الفعل الأول لهذا الفيديو اللي قدامك دلوقتي. عموما في الموضوع بتاع الفيديو دوت أو مجموعة الفيديوهات القادمة من اقتراح هذا الرهيب جدا. عندي انجن توت برو ده صديقي الرائع من 4 ساعات أو من 5 ساعات أثناء تسجيل هذا الفيديو. رديت عليه إن هو يروح يكلم الديسكورد عشان نكمل الكلام في هذا الموضوع. وصراحة يعني أنا متحمس جدا لهذا الفيديو ولفكرة إنتاج هذا الفيديو. فيلا بينا، هيكون في طبعا ترجمة، يعني هحاول أترجم على قد ما أقدر اللي هيكون ظاهر. شكرا جدا صديقي على هذا الاقتراح. عاوز نبدأ في هذا الفيديو. طبعا أنا سيفت هذا الفيديو عشان يعني زي ما تقول كده ما يكونش فيه تعليق أو أنا فاتح النت مثلا حاجة زي كده. طبعا هروح أفتحه دلوقتي. أوكي، أعرضه ثانية، أعرضه هنا. إيه، هو مش عارف في إيه، ما تعرفش في إيه. أوكي هنا تمام، بس هو ما تعرضش الفيديو دي برضه. أوكي طب تمام تمام، أعمل بشكل أحسن. إيه، أنتوا سامعين الصوت أكيد، أنا عارف كده. سامعين الصوت. آه، ثانية، مش عارف اللي حصل صراحة. ده التقاط الفيديو، ده التقاط الفيديو. أوكي، أيوة أعتقد كده تمام. تمام كده. تمام تمام جدا. هاخد الفيديو هنا، أكبره هنا كده. معلش بقى استحملوا شوية عشان كده كده أصلا الفيديو طويل، زي ما انتوا شايفين. أكيد يعني شايفين الفيديو طويل. فعموما
Boom. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Unreal Engine training stream. I'm your host, Alexander Pascal, and joining me today, Meshko.
Perfect.
Ah!
Yes.
Yes,
Hello,
yeah.
everybody.
I didn't pronounce it Meshko. The other way is
Stop.
عموما عموما يعني زي ما قلت لك بالظبط.
tool and scale that to the size of the playfield.
أنا مش عارف أعملها إزاي الصراحة لغاية دلوقتي، اللي هو عاملها سكيل كده.
At the end, same thing. It works the same as the one that already existed. We don't have to do any kind of setup. It's pretty much set it and forget it, which is really helpful. There's a lot of go to the
أوكي
scale tool
نشوف كده.
and scale that to the size of the playfield. At the end,
أوكي.
same thing. It works the same as the one that already existed. We don't have to do any kind of setup. It's pretty much and get it,
يعني أنا
which is
استعجلت
really
شوية.
helpful. There's a lot of other settings for like if you want it to not spawn on the top of these objects, but you do want it to encompass that. But those are set per mesh, and it's just a checkbox in here, right? Because that's the
There's a couple of ways to do that.
oh, okay. Well, normally I just use the checkbox in here for widget navigation.
بيقول لك البوكسات اللي موجودة دي دلوقتي عبارة عن إنها بيقول لك يعني البوكس دي أشياء أو هذه البوكسات اللي موجودة هنا ديت عبارة عن اوبجكت. تمام، الاوبجكت دوت لازم في النيجاتيف مش او النيجاتيف مش تكون مصنفة على انها بوكس، فتكون متأكد من كده انها ممكن تكون حواليها دايرة مش بوكس، مش هو مربع يعني.
Normally I just use the checkbox in here for which navigation.
تعمل تشيك بوكس البوكس تعمل تشيك بوكس للنافيجيشن في الديتيل بتاعت كل بوكس
And no, it's not that one. Which is the checkbox in here?
So you can mark a mesh to not influence navigation at all.
Yes.
But that also means it won't cut holes in the nav mesh.
يقول لك انت ممكن تعمل بعد لما تعمل كل واحدة واحدة ممكن تحدد النافيجيشن بوكس اللي هو اللي بره ده، تحدد كل اللي تحت دول هم يعني تعمل لهم تشيك بوكس في النافيجيشن. فده الموضوع باختصار يعني.
That's true.
The other way is in the static mesh editor to define a thing as being.
يقول لك ادخل على static mesh editor من هنا زي ما هو ضغط كده هيظهر لك
navigation obstacle. And then it doesn't.
زي ما انت شايف جالك بسرعة الموضوع ده، عشان انت لما مش لاقيه بره فتلاقيه في اسمه ده المش اديتور.
It just marks. Yeah, it just marks up the navigation underneath, but you cannot
get
generate.
on top of it. Yeah.
And you can specify different area types for the area that it generates from NavMesh. So you can have a null area which is unwalkable, but you can have your custom areas like crouching or sliding, and this is the place you would set those.
Yep. So it's like you said, just here, details of the static mesh. Type in. I just typed in OB for obstacle and immedially popped up. But is dynamic obstacle?
The navigation section is at the end of static mesh properties. But there's a couple of things you can set up there.
Exactly. There's a few different things you can set up, but that one's just really good for.
ولسه بيتناقشوا هنا بس في موضوع ان هو الموضوع دوت اسهل بكتير من المواضيع التانية يعني.
Practically like just getting rid of nav mesh that's on things you don't want it on, which happens a lot in scenes. So that's the gist of what's going to get us around the world. Let me go ahead and start making a couple things. First, I promised that this one was going to be about two AIs interacting with each other.
اوكي هو جاب 2 هيكونوا هما AI هنا.
So let's just build something that's not actually AI, but we're going to just build a.
هو مش بيقول لك not actually AI يعني مش AI يعني بس يعني
quick little animation. I know.
في quick animation حاجات سريعة مش AI واو يعني.
Not your real and all that, but
yeah, I'll just have an.
في الانيميشن مش انا بقول لك اشتغل بس في الانيميشن يعني هو AI ده اللي هم كانوا بيشرحوه من شوية.
You just chill for a second and it's going to be fine. But I'm going to open up an animation and I'm going to make a quick animation for use, like the generic idea of using, where he's just going to put his hand forward and then pull back. And that's it. So it just looks like he's doing something. So I'm opening a third-person idle.
الidle
which is just under the animation folder here. In third-person idle, I'm going to grab.
طبعا انت ممكن تحمل idle والrun والcombat وكل حاجة من موقع اسمه ميكسيمو. شوف ميكسيمو هيعجبك جدا ولذيذ، وكل الموضوع تسجل دخول ومجاني يعني تسجل دخول وتعمل داونلود ويز اوت سكين او ويز سكين زي ما انت عاوز، بس انصحك بويز اوت سكين وهيجيلك جاهز.
This little slider down at the bottom, which is the animation slider. I'm not going to get into a ton of details as to how, what, where, and why you're going to want to set this up, because I'm basically just making an asset live to show you how it's done. I select a bone that I want to alter. In this case, it's upper arm R, which is the right upper arm. I'm going to press S to keyframe, and that generated a keyframe at frame 0. I'm going to drag all the way to the last frame, and I'm going to press S to keyframe it again. And so now I have two keyframes that are in their default position, somewhere in the middle here. That's where I'm going to rotate it out, and press S again, and then we should get this smooth little kind of reach out and grab an animation. So we just made a quick animation in the engine.
بيقول لك ازاي تعمل انيميشن ايدل بتاعك انت يعني. مثلا بص هنا لما جه
because I'm basically just making an
وحدد الكتش
asset live to show you how it's done.
ده الكتف مش الراس، ده الكتف الشمال. الشمال بالنسبة لي، يمين بالنسبة لك.
I select a bone that I want to alter. In this case, it's upper arm, and I'll press S to keyframe it again. And so now I have two keyframes that are in their default position. It's somewhere in the middle here.
طبعا هو جه هنا في النص
That's where I'm going to rotate it out.
وعمل روتيت للدراع.
And press S again. And then we should get this.
زي انت شايف، انت عملت كده الانيميشن بتاعتك في انريل انجن، مش محتاج ان انت يعني ممكن تعدل على الانيميشن براحتك هنا من الايدل، من الرن، من اي حاجه نفسك فيها. اسلوب جري، عاوز تعملها زي ناروتو اعملها، عاوز تعمل اي حاجه من خلال هذا الشيء قدامك. طريقه سهله ان شاء الله وبسيطه.
Smooth little kind of reach out and grab an animation. So we just made a quick animation in the engine instead of having to go out into something and make it.
It's like magic.
Yeah, it's like magic. Thank you so
يقول لي ده سحر. اوه ماي جاد، بيستقبلوا لبعض شويه، يقول لي ده سحر ده سحر.
much, Lena, by the way. Lena Halper came over and showed me what I was doing wrong, that this wasn't working. And then she's great. This whole system for creating animations is really fun. Next, go over to create asset, because we're done making those keyframes.
Okay.
And then do create animation from current animation. Boop.
يعني انت لاحظت حاجه دلوقتي ولا مش ملاحظ؟ create animation
Really fun.
from شايف الجوده مش
Next, go over to create asset, because we're done making those keyframes. And then do create animation from current animation.
from current animation.
Boop. And I'm going to put this in the animations folder, and I'm going to rename it top down use. Okay, cool.
اوكي، هو كده عمل انيميشن خلاص، مش مطالب فوق، مش محتاج ان انت بقى ايه تفتكر الانيميشن. هو الانيميشن سهل كده.
Now, idle's still going to show that it has that alteration we put in it if we do that, but actually it hasn't. So when we actually use it later, it'll be fine. We're not going to save the alteration we made. Instead, we're just going to kind of skip over that.
عادي، يعني بيقول لك انت كده خلاص خلصت. وكده علمنا حاجة جديدة صراحة، حاجة كويسة سريعة وأسهل مما كنت أعتقد يعني.
And instead, I'm going to save my use basic guy here. Save. And now, one last thing, we actually don't need a full animation. What we need is a montage. So right click on that new use animation we just created and create an anim montage.
Okay.
That's it. So this one's just called top down use underscore montage. I'm going to keep the default name. That works. Why not?
It's just a name.
It's just a name. Now I'm
just a name.
I'll show you this real fast. I open it up. You can see.
مش شرط تعمل حاجة معينة إلا وأنت بس. أنا بشرح، مش شرط تعمل حاجة معينة. أنت شرط عليك أنت تبص على بيتك، تعمل كل حاجة عشان ما تنساش أي حاجة وما تضيعش وما تدورش حوالين نفسك وتقول إيه ده، فين الحاجة اللي كنت مكتوب فيها الاسم كذا، طب الاسم ده إزاي، ده كان اسمها إيه، فاهم؟ ما تتوهش يعني.
He does the montage and then goes into an A pose, but the point is the montage works. And its default group is default group here. This is something where you're going to probably want to look at some animation streams to see more about animation and why that works. But I'm just going to quickly jump into the blueprint and inject this animation so we can call it up later. So what I've built here is this use animation, but we now need a way of saying to the character that we can kind of cut through whatever animation we're already doing and add a little like arm up animation montage.
اوكي، عشان شغل بيقول لك الانيميشن مونتاج كله، عشان اقول لك كده يا اخي خليني اسرع من كده، انا شرحت جدا.
So I'm just going to add in a
slot.
Oops. Helps if I spell that right. Slot. Which we need to drag off of the state machine to do. Almost forgot. We're going to add in the default group slot, which is just what we kind of made there. All right. Now we have the ability to make that use animation montage happen.
طبعا ده بيقول لك عشان يشغل الانيميشن مونتاج اصلا
on command, which is really important for when you want your AI to actually show what he's doing and not just blindly transferring numbers that you can't actually see happening. Cool. So that's the animation that we've made and put it into our NMBP. Next up, let's actually start building some functionality for the AI to work with. What you're going to want to do is build a a little packet of, I guess that's what I'm calling it, like a packet of functions that you can inject into anything that is usable. Because that's what this one's all about, is AI using things. So let's make an interface.
اوكي، هقول لك يعني ان البلو برنت، وتلاقي عندك في البلو برنت شو بلو برنت كلاس. طبعا اعتقد دي نسخة جديدة، يعني بتبدأ بس النسخة من اندريل انجن 4. طبعا في اندريل انجن 5 لو انتوا عاوزين نعمل رد فعل وريفيو وملخص وشرح وبتاع، فلو انتوا عاوزين نقول عليها
Functions that you can inject into anything that is usable. Because that's what this one's all about, is AI using things. So let's make an interface and call it is
هو دلوقتي عمل
anything
انترفيس،
that is usable.
هو لو بلو برنت انترفيس.
Because that's what this one's all about, is AI using things.
يقول لك ال AI using things، يعني يستخدم الأشياء. أوكي، فنشوف بقى اللي هيضيف
So let's make an interface and call it is usable interface. So
It doesn't sound like an interface name. Is usable, it's like a name of a function on an interface.
يقول له إن الاسم اللي أنتوا سميته تحسه اسم حيوان، مش اسم حاجة أنت راجع لها تاني يعني.
Like usable
okay.
usable thing interface.
Okay.
أو يقول لك دي شيء بيتعمل على الواجهة.
I know it's just a name, but things should be named.
Usable thing
correctly.
interface.
Yes.
It is. Okay, usable thing interface.
Perfect.
usable thing interface لما كده عشان إيه؟ يعني شيء يستخدم على الواجهة، أو كده الترجمة الحرفية بتاع جوجل حرفيا.
Okay. Thanks.
Well, as long as you were talking about animation, I didn't care, but now.
Now it's back in
Now I
your
care.
realm and it's all about it. So we're going to open up that interface. Inside it's going to have one default function that has nothing built onto it. So the first one we're going to make here is used. So when something gets used, what should happen?
هو بس غير اسم الفانكشن اللي على اليمين وخلاه يوجد.
This is a function that's going to be pretty basic since we're going to tell each individual item what using it means. A treasure chest being used should open. A person being used should, I don't know, transfer information. An ice cream cone being used should be eaten. So whatever we are, we get used.
عمل new input.
And the first thing we want is the using actor. So I'm gonna
using actor يعني مش عارف اقولها بالعربي صراحة، أكيد فهمني. using actor.
pass that along. In here, I'm going to make this an actor reference. Ooh, actor reference.
actor reference. جايبها ازاي برضه عشان نشوف.
So I'm gonna pass that along. In here, I'm going to make this an actor reference. Ooh. Actor.
من actor في كلمة
reference.
اسمها actor وحد reference.
So what we can do is when we call the used function, we can say who's doing the using. So the thing being used
عمل new تاني، انت لاحظ بس معايا.
can then in turn say, actually, no, that thing can't use me, or now I have that information and I can in turn turn it into something else. Now, for the sake of this tutorial, I'm going to add in one more variable to its input called integer. Called value into something else. Now, for the sake of this tutorial, I'm going to add in one more variable to its input called integer.
أنا متفاجئ يا جماعة، أنا متفاجئ. integer اسمها energy.
And I can, called value, turn it into something else. Now, for the sake of this tutorial, I'm going to add in one more variable to its input called integer.
integer اسمه كده integer.
Called value, which is an integer.
Okay.
Value is going to represent any kind of data that we want to pass from one AI to another, and that's it. So it can be anything. It doesn't have to be integer. It can be floats and vectors and other actors, etc. But for the sake of this, we're basically going to pass coins
يقول لك مش هنضطر نستخدم فلوت ولا هنعمل اي حاجه من الحاجات ديت، احنا بس هنستخدم ايه الاشياء اللي موجوده عندنا
or something.
اللي هم الاكتور وال الحاجه الصدمه النيجر. والله انا مش فاكر اصلا الكلمه، انا عارف اللي هي انتجر، انتجر ممكن تكون انجر كده.
sort of a resource value. Next thing we want is a can use.
طبعا لو انتم مش ملاحظين
sort of a resource
او
value.
ملاحظين هو عمل new function او عمل add function.
Next thing we want is a can use.
can use ده حاجة تانية في الفانكشن
function. So can use will be a function that we call when we want to actually figure out whether or not something has blocked us.
طب هو ليه can use وعمل عليها علامة استفهام؟ يمكن ده سؤال
from usability. A treasure chest that's already been opened should probably have a variable in it that says
أضيف output.
I've been opened, don't bother with me, there's nothing in here, so don't bother. So in here we're going to put an output. The output is going to be of a Boolean value because what we want to know is simply
don't
bother. So in here we're going to put an output. The output is going to be of a Boolean value because what we want to know is simply, can it be used? Yes or no. Is usable. And that's it.
Is usable.
So when we call this, it's going to reach into the thing that we're using and say, hey, you, can I actually use you?
أكن الموضوع دلوقتي هنا بيقول إن يعني دلوقتي إزاي يعني هو يقول لك ليه عملوا is usable أو ليه عامل سؤال، لأنه بيقول لك هو أنت دلوقتي بتسأله، راح تسأله فعلا هل أنت يعني عاوز تستخدمني ولا لأ؟ هل أنا يعني أنت إزاي؟ هل أنت عاوز تستخدمني؟ أنت هو يعني بيقول السؤال ده، فهو بيرد عليه بيقول له أو لأ، ده اختصار الموضوع.
And that'll be that. And finally, the last function that we're going to need. What?
So if you have a function can use,
yes.
Shouldn't you pass a parameter in who's asking the question?
I could.
Okay.
I could very well do that. Like for the inputs here, we could do.
عامل input و output.
Do yet another actor. Do actor. Actor reference.
Actor reference تاني في الانبوت.
And so we could.
عشان يربطهم ببعض تقريبا، يربط الريفرنس مع الريفرنس.
Say again, we could get the user in.
حط صوت عالي صح؟ صوت عالي صح؟ لا مش
information if we wanted to using actor. Cool. So yeah, if we need that info for whatever reason, now we can pass that along too. And I'll show you how we pass that information through in just a minute when we make a task that
طبعا هو دوت عمل using actor
activates these functions. But first we have to build the functions to activate. The last function we're going to make on here is use object.
Use object.
This is the function. So this interface is actually not just for something that can be used, but also for things that do use other things. Sort of a kind of strange concept, but you are capable of being used and also using something else. So we want to be able to have both of those called as two separate concepts. So
usually you would have two separate interfaces for that, but
we could.
Yeah, for simplicity, say.
But I'm assuming that any of your AI should be usable and also can use. But yes, he's right. This could be two separate interfaces.
ما حاجة مش مستاهل نتكلم فيها، بس يقول لك ده كله عشان نعمل يعني شيء يعني يخلي لي اي أكثر ذكاء.
Hurt too much of anything? I don't think that we're going to see any kind of
a harmless simplification.
Yeah, it's just one simplification. Like you said, harmless, mostly harmless. as far as I know, it has no harm, but I'm just going to say mostly harmless for safety's sake. And then, yeah, so the only thing that this one needs
عمل input.
to put out is used object. So when I, as an AI, use something, what was that thing I used? And does it affect how I am doing stuff now? Because I've used it. And so the used item can in
بس ما عملش أي حاجة تانية في ال function.
turn transfer back up to me. So that's what that is there for. We could also put value and some other things on this, but like I said, it's only the information you need to transfer. So that is our interface. It's those three functions, and now
بس كده
we're going to put it to use.
أنا متفاجئ حرفيا دلوقتي.
I'm going to save it.
لازم تعمل سيف لكل حاجة غريبة جدا.
Alright, so let's open up top-down character. You
أوكي.
could make a separate AI
هو دلوقتي هيفتح ال top down character.
character derived from this, or a whole new character, but frankly, we don't need to. We can actually use the same exact character that we're moving around in as also the AI character, as long as we make a couple adjustments and tell it to use AI instead of player input. So you'll notice also in here when you open up, there's quite a bit pre-built, but this up here, sorry, that up there up top is just for VR HMD stuff and isn't really important, but I'm going to ignore it for now because it's not hurting anything. So first things first, let's go into our viewport actually.
اوكي هتضيف حاجة في الفيديو بورد تقريبا.
And let's add in, he's doing this instead of the idle, of course.
الايدل زي ما انت شايف ايده اتحركت كده حركة متخلفة.
That's just my luck. Hang on a second.
هو كان عاملها من شوية لو انت فاكرين.
Mannequin, animation, and hopefully I didn't save over the idle. Cool, so what I'll do is I'll just make it stop doing that, just to be super safe, by grabbing the upper arm and doing reset bone transform, and there's remove.
هيعمل ريموف اللي هو كان عامله قبل كده عشان الايدل زبالة صراحة.
Remove frames or whatever, but that's about it. Alright, it's gonna fight me today, but whatever.
عمل ريموف فريمز، عمل ريموف لأي حاجة. لا بس هو كان عاوز يخلي فريم سلس أكتر.
Which is weird because I did that earlier. Totally fine.
Sure.
Yeah, sure, Alex, sure. So if I go in here, I actually wonder if I go in here and I hit play real fast. Yep, there he goes. He's doing it too much. That's not good. No bueno. I must have done something funky that I did slightly different, but I'll just keep going. Next up, we're gonna.
Now it's too late to undo it.
Yeah, now it's too late. Yeah, probably. I'm sure Lena's like watching this, like, Alex, come on. So we're gonna insert a text component.
هيضيف add component
that will be our text render. Text render.
text render.
And this will be our
أول مرة
value
أشوفها
display.
دلوقتي. text render. value.
Pow. So now we've got our value
display.
display going. That's gonna drive me crazy. Is the guy just constantly wiggling. So under our value display, we can use this to change the text number that's on it. We're also going to want to bring this up. Sorry, I meant to stay in this view.
ده رقم مش عارف المفروض ده text هو ده value text render تقريبا.
So
أنت شايف مكتوب فوق text وأنت بتحدد اسم الشخصية بهذا الشكل.
We rotate this back so we can actually see it a little bit better. And I'm going to change the horizontal alignment to center.
أحطه في التكست في النص.
And I'm change the text to just be the number 0.
هو دلوقتي هيعمل تقريبا اللي هو العداد اللي فيه كان حد طلب تقريبا العداد اللي ده هيكون يعني هيبدأ بزيرو، هيكون هنا تكست زيرو.
And this will represent whether or not it has information. So by default, no information. Okay, now the blueprint interface that we made before can be injected into any blueprint that we made.
اوكي ده أول مرة أشوفها دلوقتي، اسمها كلاس. هي عموما أنت عارفها أكيد جنب السيرش.
Going over to interfaces, and then down here we've got, what did you make me name it?
look for interface.
usable. Well, they all say interface at the end.
اوكي، هو دلوقتي يوزبل انترفيس اللي هو كان عاملها
That doesn't
هيحطها طبعا،
help.
اللي هي لو انتوا فاكرين بلو برنت انترفيس لو عملها.
Usable thing interface. There you go. Usable thing interface. Now, I don't know if you noticed that the second
طبعا انا محددها عشان يعرف يشتغل يكمل.
it went in, can use showed up in the interfaces, and we actually got the two other functions as events. So let's go ahead and set everything here up.
اوكي فعلا في دلوقتي يقول لك هيكون في اختلاف.
Um,
هو ما قالش كده يعني، بس انا بقول كده اختصار الوقت يعني.
right. We're also going to want, right. We're also going to want to add in a Boolean value under variables called is
عمل variable
usable.
is usable.
And I'm going to expose that one.
عملوا مرئي كمان.
File. And just leave it as is for right now. But that'll
Okay.
be the variable we check against later using the can use function. And in fact, we can set that up first. So open up can use by double
كان use الفانكشن اللي عاملها قبل كده.
clicking it, and we can see here that this is all that it is. So when someone calls this, what they
اوكي فهمت ليه
want to know is the status of the is usable boolean.
لا حتة أكشن، حتة كوميدية جدا صراحة. ركزوا تحت خالص كده على
You
اليمين.
see here that this is all that it is. So when someone calls this,
هو جاي
what they
يوصل.
want to know is the status of the is usable boolean.
اللي هو متابع على اللايف، الكاميرا جت عليه في اللايف كمان عشان هو مستغرب اللي بيحصل.
And that's just it. So
هو ده بطريقة مختلفة، ال AI هنا بطريقة مختلفة جدا على اللي احنا عارفينها، غير موفتو. ده هيكون أكثر ذكاء. في زحمة عربيات تحت، مش عارف الصوت باين ولا لأ، بس يا رب ما يكونش باين. أعتقد باين، أعتقد. يلا نكمل.
this can represent, like I said, treasure chest is open. Do not bother trying to open it again. And next up we have the use object event. So we have
use object اللي كان عامله برضه، الفانكشن اللي كان عامله.
a add event. See, there's calling it and whatnot. We're not calling it. We're actually setting what it does within the character.
Event use object.
We want to say inside of this event, when we use an object, what happens, versus in this one, used, event used, which is when we
event use. ده اللي كان برضه عامله قبل كده، فانكشن كان عامله. فانت الفانكشن اللي هو في بلو برنت انترفيس ده كله كده بيظهر هنا في التوب داون
get used, what happens. Now, there is a value here going in, so we should probably give ourselves a value as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and promote that to a variable.
عملوا بريميتيف فايربل لان اللي هو الايفنت يوز ده هيغير اسمه اكيد، هيخليه موجود يعني.
And call this one value. So when we get a new variable put in, I'm sorry, a new
value. Okay.
value put in, we'll want to
جاب الفاليو
to whatever our previous value was. So like if we're
الفيكتور بلس
passing gold coins around, right? We want to say find out how many gold coins you have.
اوكي عملوا بلس ما بينهم كلهم. اوكي نايس الكلام زي الفل قوي.
And that'll be what the
بس تنويه كده لو وصلت لغايه هنا، ان النقطه اللي انت مش واخد بالك منها ان ده يعني نسخه جديده من انجل انجن، فخليك في يعني انت لو عندك نسخه جديده خليك في الفيديو، لو انت ما عندكش نسخه جديده اتاكد ان انت عندك البلو برنت انترفيس.
And once we do that, let's also set this to false. So once
اوكي هو جاب دلوقتي is usable وعملها وصلها بفاليو.
we get used, we shouldn't be usable again. Whatever this value represents, we do it, don't let them use it again. And then we can find ways to set this so we can be reused.
ما فعلهاش، حاجة غريبة جدا يعني. ولا المفروض كده ما يفعلهاش، ان هيفعلها في الايفنت يوز اوبجكت. Okay.
So from that, we also want to take that text render that we did before, that value display,
جينا بقى للنقطة المهمة، التكست ريندر اللي هي اسمها value display.
We're going to set text on it. So
اوكي set text. اوكي
when we get used,
اتصلها بال is usable.
we update how much our value is worth, and then
اوكي
we take that value, and this is really cool. Just going to click it over
اوه وصل الفاليو لفاليو هناك.
here.
اوكي
It does int to text,
نايس. لا عجبني النظام.
and we're going to display that value when it updates. You can actually make a couple of adjustments here, such as like basically you can clamp the minimum and maximum of the digits.
اوكي ما بيقول لك ديت الاعداد،
Value when it updates. You can actually
بيقول لك اقصى عدد واقل عدد. فاقل عدد واحد واقصى عدد 324. انت ممكن تعليها ممكن تقللها براحتك.
make a couple of adjustments here, such as like basically you can clamp the minimum and maximum of the digits, but that's about that. So we're just going to set it like this. As we get new information pulled in, we will update the little icon above our heads to say, yes, we got it.
اوكي
Next up, for the event used, we're going to
use object.
do a do once. Now this is how we set up a montage play here. Is do once.
do once. do once عادي. اوكي
Once. And we're going to
عند complete
play montage.
play montage. اوكي كده انا فهمت حاجة.
So this is that montage we set up before, and if I can actually reset it so it's just idling like normal,
طبعا هيحدد المونتاج من هنا زي ما احنا عارفين.
we won't have that problem anymore. But we changed the montage type to the use montage we made before. So when we are called to use an object, we know we're supposed to play an animation. Now your return value is how much time you have until
ده انريل انجن 4 زي ما انت شايف على الشمال جات لك تحت.
is how much time you have
اوكي return value
until the animation is finished.
the
We're
delay
going to throw a delay on that that says we can't trigger this again until
complete تعمل ريسيت. اوه ماي
done
جاد
through and
ايه اللفة دي؟ لا فعلا في ابداع شوية ابداع هنا بصراحة.
finish the animation. So we won't end up with like a weird jittery animation if he tries to use something over and over again. This will kind of
قطة اللي تحت على الشمال يمشي اتكل على الله.
strange. So
اوكي
those are what our two functions are going to look like within the character for transferring information and knowing when you should actually reach out and use the event. All right, next up, we're going to create a Blackboard for the character.
Actual AI.
اعمل بلاك بورد. زي ما عرفنا ان البلاك بورد يعني هو عبارة عن الشاشة السوداء اللي بتكون شاشة سوداء لما انت ما بتعملش حاجة عليها، اما لما تعمل حاجة عليها وبيعرف ان في حاجة بيمشي وراها وبتاع. فدي حاجة أساسية جدا يعني لازم تكون عندك. أكيد عندك يعني حتى النسخة القديمة اللي عندي موجودة.
Yeah, you keep looking back and forth at me. It's making me nervous. All right. Thanks. Yeah, you look over there. That's
Okay.
right.
Let me know when you feel
Okay.
comfortable.
لو انت وصلت هنا سبسكرايب بقى بليز يعني. تعبت جامد في هذا الفيديو، لسه قدامي تعب. الفيديو ساعتين الا ربع، فهيتم تصويره على عدة ساعات يعني. أنا ما عنديش وقت كامل ورا بعض والمغرب قرب يأذن، فعموما خلاص كمل كمان شوية كده أو هوقف التسجيل وأرجع لك.
Okay,
So that I
okay.
can look back.
أوكي
I'm gonna make a folder for AI.
Can I peek?
Yeah. You can look.
I'm kidding.
So
No way.
I'm gonna make a. You know that the animation thing's gonna drive me crazy. I'm gonna just take 1 second to.
If you haven't saved it, you can restart the editor, and it should, because you haven't saved the changes.
Yeah.
Which could end up saving us time, because now we're gonna have to look at it and try to
أوكي
figure it out.
Why you gotta do
And
that?
you have no idea what you're doing, so it can take.
Wow. The
I'm
confidence.
kidding.
The confidence.
I'm kidding.
The confidence. You have
AI
no
is
idea.
actually the only thing I know more
Can't re-import.
about than
مش عارف هم سرح معاه في الكلام وقاعد يقول له حاجات غريبة. قاعد يضحكوا في أي حاجة.
The rest is like I've actually learned you can do this animation stuff, but I'm not working with animation.
Okay. Just doing that stuff. Okay.
I'm not teasing you as well, so.
Okay. Well,
القطة جت على اليمين.
so I'm gonna just come back to that then to make fun of me if I try to do anything there.
ازاي يحط قطة في اللايف؟ هي أي نعم صورة بس معلش يعني أنا ممكن أعملها دلوقتي عادي، بس الفكرة في إن لماذا؟
Where was I now?
عشان بس شلل المشاهد شوية.
Got myself all off track. Oh, right. Blackboard and behavior tree. So I made a new AI folder. In the AI folder, let's build the two main components of any AI in UE4, which is your Blackboard
Blackboard وbehavior tree. behavior tree.
and your behavior tree.
behavior tree هيبقى ده أمريكي، والتاني behavior tree ده كان بريطاني. فرق في الحاجات
A
رهيبة.
Blackboard is essentially a struct of variables that you're passing into your behavior tree, and you can alter from tasks and your character, the environment, etc. So go ahead and make a Blackboard.
أوكي. للمعلوميات ده بعد كام ساعات طويلة من التسجيل، وإحساس غريب جدا الصراحة. حتى مش عارف احنا وصلنا فين أصلا، فنشوف كده احنا وصلنا فين. أوكي.
Build the two main components of any AI in UE4, which is your Blackboard and your behavior.
يا بلاك بورد قلت المعلومة دي قبل كده بس هقولها تاني، إن أنا كنت عامل فيديو عن الموضوع، فممكن نتخطى البلاك بورد أو نيجي للحتة المهمة. بس البلاك بورد مش شرط، حاجات كتير بنعرفها. أنا كنت شوف في الفيديو بالذات خلي ال AI يتبعك، ده طبعا حاجة متطورة جدا أنا كنت عاملها، بس فيها نفس الفكرة. يعني هم عملوا حاجات في الأول، لو أنت شفت يعني الفيديو الأول عمل حاجات جامدة جدا في الأول، فدلوقتي في الآخر خلاص في آخر إيه؟ آخر حاجات يعني. أوكي.
BB Basic. Now I've put its parent to itself. It doesn't really matter. But self actor is the first thing
ده الكي نيو كي عمل
you're gonna get
سيلف اكت
in here. It's just default. You can reference your own AI. We're gonna add in two, a very basic variables. The first one is gonna be an object.
اوبجكت كي او اوبجكت اوبجكت
Variable. We call this one target actor.
So a very important
تارجت اكتور اللي هو التارجت بتاع، فانت حد تارجت.
note here because people yes this thing change the type of
دلوقتي هو بيفكروا بشيء، قال له انت نسيت تعمل تشينج تايب كي تايب هنا، بتحدد السيرف بيرسون كاركتر، توب داون كاركتر شكل معلق
key to something like an actor. So the default value is object, and then people try to use the target actor like this kind of key as a move to destination.
Yes.
What?
Well, oh no, you don't. Okay.
No.
Okay. You don't wanna.
Okay, I can shut up. Come on.
No, I was gonna ask if you wanted to mess around
يقول له خد انت كمل انت.
with it. No, all right. Never mind. But no, that is correct. That is very important. I'm not making. You was gonna pass it over. You're doing a
Just
great
usually
job.
people there's every month or every other month someone is asking a question on the answer hub.
It happens.
Why those keys are not showing up as a movement destination, and that's because the base class is not set.
Yes. So object actually doesn't return what you need it to. So you need it to know that it's a subclass of that, which is actor. At the very base, actor. So act.
دي بقى حاجة مختلفة عن أنا جايب أكتور، أنا جايب سيلف بيرسون أو توب داون.
Like this kind of key.
لو رجعنا
we're gonna call this one target actor.
هتلاحظ اللي هو اختار أكتور.
So a very important note here because people yes this thing change the type of your actor key to something like an actor. So the default value is
اللي بيلعب بقطة يمين ده روشني.
object and then people
أكتور يختار أكتور. أنا هختار أكتور طبعا طبقت النظام، هو مطبقتش النظام ده، روح النظام بتاعي عشان تشوف الموضوع ده سهل جدا يعني.
try to use the target actor like this kind of key as I move to destination. What?
Well, oh no, you didn't. It. So you
يا عم خلصنا.
think this to anything. Like I'm going to make a box in the scene, and that thing can be usable, and therefore that is an actor. We can make a target. So anything in the world could be a targetable actor now. The next thing that we're going to need is a vector.
اوه تصور بقى فيكتور.
I'm going to call it location. You can call it destination, what have you, and it's just
ده اللوكيشن هو المكان بتاع الأكل. فأختار نعملها بموف تو المكان الفلاني أو الأكتور الفلاني بيدعي الأكتور الفلاني في المكان.
a vector. There's nothing.
طبعا الموضوع ده كان معقد فأنا حولته لموف تو من فيرست بيرسون كاركتر أو من يعني البلو بن عموما يعني.
Special to this. This one I'm going to be using for finding a random place to go to if I don't have any targets.
يقول لك أنا دلوقتي هستخدم اللوكيشن دوت أو الفيكتور إن هو يروح لأماكن عشوائية في المكان.
I should just find somewhere to be and sit myself there for a bit and go somewhere else and sit there for a bit.
Okay.
This is one of the most basic kinds of AI movement you can add is a wander.
Okay.
So we'll do that in just a second.
طبعا أنا بجمع الكلام واحد
for a bit and go somewhere else and sit there for a bit. This is one of the most basic kinds of AI
ده الطبيعي في عمل أي حاجة AI.
movement you can add is a wander. So we'll do that in just a second.
أو الذكاء الصناعي. تاني حاجة هتعملها
First we need a behavior tree to hold that logic in. So we go back up and right click and go to the artificial intelligence menu for behavior tree. And I'm going to call this one BT underscore basic because I assume that one's cool. Good name.
زي ما انت شايف هو حدد الحاجة اللي هو عاوزها فنصيحة من دي حدد الحاجة اللي انت عاوزها عشان يعني حدد الأسامي الحاجات المهمة اللي تفرق معاك.
That's a good name. All right. BT basic. Now BT basic by default is going to be assigned the Blackboard asset BB basic because it's the only thing that exists. There's no other default one, which is pretty useful here.
Yeah. You don't really. Good name.
Good name. All right.
تقريبا هيستخدموا حاجة تانية غير مثلا.
BT basic.
لا مش حاجة. عمل
behavior trees.
هو عمل head.
There's no other default one, which is pretty useful here.
Yeah. You don't really. I mean, having a Blackboard is not necessary to use behavior trees.
مهم فعلا مهم أصلا صح.
But there's a lot of
تعملها هايد عشان
convenience features in the behavior tree.
مثلا انت بتحدد من هنا البلاكبورد
nodes and tasks and like all kind of nodes that use the Blackboard. So there's no reason not to use it. I mean, you could, but amount of things you.
زي ما انت شايف هنا حدد الهايبر دي وحدد البلاكبورد.
So there's no
ركز هنا كويس.
reason not to use it. I mean, you could, but.
راح لهنا والله الجودة مش أحسن حاجة عندي. بارنيت
amount of things.
ويغيرها من نفس المكان ده تلاقي عندك غير هنا اختار the hyper.
You would be able to do would be seriously restricted.
Yeah.
أو Blackboard. أعتقد Blackboard. Okay.
Now I have a question for you.
Yeah.
I have BB Basic here.
Mm-hmm.
And I have it here.
Mm-hmm.
And these are all here.
Uh-huh.
But why aren't they here?
You just haven't saved it?
I did. I just
saved. Close it.
I'm not saving it.
Okay. Close both.
Okay. There you go. I don't know. It just didn't like me for a sec. Okay. So for.
شفت بقى اليمين ده ذكي عبقري. عارف كل الخطوات وعارف كل حاجة في البرنامج أو في الشيء. عموما لما هنا جه عشان أشوف المفروض يظهر له هنا. تمام. ما ظهرلوش أي حاجة هنا. تمام. فهو بيقول له فين حاجة؟ قال له اقفل الاثنين اللي هما البيهايند 3 والباكبورد اقفلهم وافتحهم تاني. فعلا بعد ما افتحهم واقفلهم لو انت شايف دلوقتي ايه اللي حصل؟ كلوز بوث قال له اقفلهم الاثنين.
Okay. There you go. I don't know. It just didn't like me for a second.
أعتقد يعني.
Okay, so for what we're gonna do now, I'm gonna do I'm gonna drag off of this root. So root is where everything comes from, but you can't pull
Selector.
logic
Selector.
straight out of root. You need to find a way of deciding what you're going to be doing. So your decision making comes in the form of composites, selectors, sequences, and simple parallels.
أنا اخترت selector فهو اختار إيه؟
We're gonna start off with a sequence.
sequence.
But actually, you're going to want to start off with a selector normally, but
هيختار selector
the
بس.
sequence is all that we need since we're going
لا هو بيقول مختلف عن selector.
logic straight out of root. You need to find a way of deciding what you're going to be doing. So your decision making comes in the form of composites, selectors, sequences, and simple parallels. We're going to start off with a sequence, but actually you're going to want to start off with a selector
هو بيقول لك الحقيقة أنا كنت المفروض أستخدم selector الأول.
normally, but the sequence is all that we need since we're
لكن sequence هي اللي إحنا كل حاجة إحنا عاوزينها.
going to just be doing a simple move to,
simple move to.
or actually just move to, move
أو move to. Okay.
to, and we'll move to, and here's the details over here. We move to Blackboard Key location,
Okay.
and then we're just going to do a simple wait.
Wait. Oh. أول مرة أكتشف دي صراحة.
For, I don't know, 3 seconds is probably fine. So we'll do
يعني في move to في wait.
wait for 3 seconds. So we're going to move to whatever the vector.
يعني قبل لما يكون يعمل أوكي. تعال نشوف شرح أنا هشرح من عندي.
Move to, and we'll move to, and here's the details over here. We move
كل الجنب الشمال ده تفاصيل بتاعت الموف.
to Blackboard Key.
طبعا هو غيرها هنا التارجت اكسس اللي هو كان عاملها في البلاك بورد.
Location.
في لوكيشن هو غيرها للوكيشن.
And then we're
مش عارف ليه بتستبدل.
just going to do a simple wait. Wait for, I don't know, 3 seconds. Probably fine.
هحددها فوق على الشمال 3 ثواني.
So we'll do a wait for 3 seconds. So we're going to move to whatever the vector
يقول لك ايه اللي هيحصل من موف
is for
حركة الفيكتور اللي هو الشخصية.
location. And
لا الفيكتور اللي هو اللوكيشن.
now we're going to wait there.
هيعمل ويت 3 ثواني.
And that's the entirety of this logic as it is right now.
أو هيفضل ساكت يعني هادي 5 ثواني أو قبلها كده.
The sequence says run things from left to right, and if they succeed, move to the next thing in the right. Otherwise, fail upwards.
And there's no upwards.
Yeah, there's no upwards here.
So it's not a good idea to have this kind of behavior tree.
This is not. This should never be your base behavior tree.
Yeah, because if something goes wrong, it will the next tick it will try again and again and again.
It'll just lock up. And actually, that's what's going to happen. You're going to see it's going to lock up once we actually complete this move, and then we're going to wait there. And that's the entirety of this logic as it is right now.
يقول لك يعني ال3 ثواني هتمنع اللي هو يفضل يروح يفضل يجري وراه يجري عشوائي كل 3 ثواني يعني كل ما يجري مثلا في حتة يقف 3 ثواني وبعد كده يجري تاني فما تخليش عنها متكرر. دي حاجة كويسة ممكن نستخدمها في عن طريق حاجات تانية في ديلي عندنا في حاجات مختلفة زي ويت يعني.
The sequence says run things from left to right, and if they succeed, move to the next thing in the right. Otherwise, fail upwards.
And there's no upwards.
Yeah, there's no upwards here.
So it's not a good idea to have this kind of behavior tree.
This is not. This should never be your base behavior.
Yeah, because if some.
دول حاجات أساسية جدا عشان تقدر تعمل الحاجة المهمة في السمارت AI.
Something goes wrong, it will the next tick it will try again and again and again.
Just lock.
عشان ما يفضلش يجري وراك على طول أو يعمل try again على الوقت.
And actually that's what's going to happen. You're going to see it's going to lock up once we actually complete this move to. Another thing that we're going to do is we're going to set the move to's acceptable radius to 50 instead of 5.
حول اللي فوق عشان والله مش شايف يعني الجودة عندي هننزله جودة عالية مش عارف ايه كده. عموما اللي فوق على الشمال ديت اللي هنا ديت حولها من 5 ل 50. اوكي هنحولها ل 50
because 5 is a very small radius of.
يقول لك لأن هو 5 دي بتكون صغير أو قيمة صغيرة.
Success, and you might not quite land in it. So in order to do anything with this information, we're going to need an AI controller to
ال AI controller سهلة وبسيطة.
inject it into your actual AI thing. Whatever your AI is, I'm just going to call it thing. It doesn't have to be a person. It can be anything. So we're going to go right-click in
AI
this.
agent.
Agent, sure. Actor.
Like Agent Smith.
Sure.
بيعلق معاه على حاجات تافهة أوي صراحة.
That's a person.
حتى هو ضحك.
Okay.
He's a program. He's a program.
Aren't we all though?
But he. Like, I'm referring to him as a he. So
Yeah, the program.
the
Okay.
personal program.
So I've opened. I said right-click blueprint. We're making a new blueprint, and I didn't. Notice I didn't use any of the defaults. I just did blueprint class. We're going down here into the search AI controller.
Yes.
There's detour crowd AI controller also, but we don't need to worry about crowd detouring right.
تمام
Just
كده.
the blueprint class. We're going down here into
أنا كنت متوقع إن هو يختارها على طول بس في حاجة ثانية AI controller.
the search AI controller. There's detour crowd AI controller also, but we don't need to worry about crowd detouring right now. We only have like a couple dudes in the scene.
من الآخر هو يقول لك إيه اختار AI controller. عارف ليه طول.
It's not necessary.
خلاص يا قلت عرفنا إن أنت عند الإنجن 4.
And so I'm going to call this one, I guess, AI con or con basic. So AI controller basic.
Okay.
AI controller basic is going to hold our very simple information in it as far as just what the location, like for just this display purposes, I'm going to inject what location it is and just have him walk to it and wait there. And so you'll
هو دخل على
so AI controller basic
ال AI controller.
of what
كان شايف بتكون blueprint عادية.
this means. So first thing, when we begin playing, we'll have control of some kind of a character in the world, but the character's not going to have a brain. So that's a problem.
يقول لك الأكتور عاوز مخ. تمام. فدي مشكلة.
We need to give him
حقيقة دي مشكلة كبيرة.
Okay, yes. Because this guy.
If
have control of some kind of a character in the world, but the character's not going to have a brain. So that's a problem. We need to give him a brain.
طبعا بيقول لك دلوقتي دي مشكلة إن هو ما عندوش عقل هنحط له عقل. أنا متحمس جدا. تو إكسايت.
Okay, yes.
Run.
Because this guy.
لا.
couple of
يا جماعة لازم نشوف فيديوهات على جودة عالية وتشوف الكلام المكتوب. هي آخر كلمة 3.
ways of
run behavior 3. أنت بتدي run
spawning
behavior.
AI. What you're setting up is going to be a pawn that you put on the map, right? And with this setup,
أنا ما خدتش بالي من حاجة بتقول إيه.
because there's a couple of ways of spawning AI. What you're setting up is going to be a pawn that you put on the map, right? And with this setup, there's no way to tell him in the properties like which behavior tree to use.
اوكي يعني بيقول لك ان هو ما يكونش حاول أفهم. انا ما بحبش اطول صراحه حاجات اللي زي
Spawn AI dynamic.
ده بيتكلم على التليفون دي يعني اقعد اقول التليفون انا دعوه بيه اللي هو يكون ذكي.
Using Spawn AI.
ايه ده؟
Spawn AI.
Spawn AI from class. لازم؟
From class.
Yeah.
والله الراجل ده مفيد مع انه الكلام انا بالنسبه لي كنت بحسبه لازم الكلام مفيد.
You can specify the behavior tree directly here in properties.
Yeah.
And you don't need a dedicated
مش فاهم ايه ده
AI controller because you can have it use the default AI controller and just specify the behavior tree here and it will just work. But the downside is you need to this works only for spawning AI dynamically.
Yes.
Which is, the higher level thing.
Yeah. So since we're not going to actually be spawning in our AI, I'm just going to inject the behavior directly into whatever we add the AI controller to. So basically, I've got this info here, and if I take our character in the world, and I'm going to move him over a little bit and back, and I'm going to hold Alt, and then drag him to make a duplicate, and then down here in the settings, I'm going to scroll all the way to the bottom, because that's where this stuff is. It's going to say actor, sorry, pawn, not actor, pawn, auto-possessed player.
اها، انت كده بيقول لك انت تعمل بون للاكتر ده، تقول له انت بلاير 1
Disable, because
سيبر، مش بلاير اصلا، انت الاي اي.
the first guy, this guy over here, is going to be the one that has player and like input controls from.
يقول لك ده اللاعب اللي هنا ده هو البلاير، اوكي، ده مش محسوب اللي هو بلاير.
First player, which is me, and I'll control him. This one over here will have none, and since it doesn't get possessed by a player, it should get auto-possessed by an AI, and that AI is going to be AI.
طبعا هنا بتحدد الاي اي في البون، هتلاقي عندك حاجه اسمها اي اي اللي انت سميتها اي اي حاجه، او ايا كانت التسميه، تلاقي عندك بنفس التسميه اللي انت سميتها، تختار الاي اي كنترولر اللي انت عملته.
On basic. So that is now connected. Now that they're connected to each other, it knows that once it spawns in, to tell the thing it's connected to get the behavior tree,
اختار البيج
BT basic.
يس.
So now it will run BT basic when we load up the world, but it's not going to have a location pre-built, so it won't know where to go. So I'm going to fix that really
هيعمل variable.
quick. So I've made a new variable, and I'm going to call it location, just because keep it
اوكي، ده اللوكيشن اللي هو الفيكتور.
simple. We know exactly what we're messing with. Now,
ده variable.
Can you run the behavior we have now and show the
show
تقريبا هيحول ترانسفورم،
the
صح؟
lockout. Yeah, I can show that.
so that
Okay.
people see how broken BT
Like what
looks
we
like.
have right now is going to make him not move. And if I go into BT basic, you can see he's trying.
ده انت شايف هنا اللي بيوريك السيكونس والموف روم او دي شغالين بقى، فعلا شغالين ويت 3 سكند
To
لسه.
move to location, but he has no
طبعا لازم نتحرك الأول.
location. It's invalid. So he just locks up on it. He can't do anything, and this is bad. Like, this isn't going anywhere. Very unhappy. And
Yeah, you don't even see it.
it's happening so fast you can't even see this constant up down failing. But if I hit pause up here, we can actually pause the game and then run back in the AI's thought process and say, oh no, look at this, it's failing. That red line means failure.
بيقول لك يعني انت كل ما بتعمل بوز او توقف اللعبة وتشغلها تاني، تلاحظ ان في اختلاف وفرق كبير. يعني اكيد ما قالش كده بالمية يعني، بس يعني بقول لك باختصار الموضوع عشان الموضوع ممل الصراحة بالنسبة لي، يعني بقالي كتير ساعات طويلة.
That line means attempt. It attempted to
قريتها هتنفع بس في الآخر، طبعا فيديو شرح أقول لك بالظبط أحسن يعني.
and failed. So what we need to do is give it a location to go to. Now, I'm going to show you how to get locations in a bit, but first let's just show you how to direct inject a location for the sake of injecting a location. So I've made this new variable, I named it location, and I changed its variable type to name. A name is actually a really interesting
يقول لك غير اسمه، غير اسمه واللوكيشن، وغير اللي هو يعني عمل الفايربل ده عمله نيم.
way of doing
يقول لك شيء مميز جدا هو نيم يعني.
this. So what we can do is we can take the name, and I can also say get controlled pawn.
get control bone.
So the controlled pawn
ديت تقريبا هتوصل في
is my robot in the world, is what I guess I should think of him as. And he has a behavior tree attached to him, which has a blackboard. So I'm going to do get blackboard. Because what we need
يقول لك دلوقتي هتجيب البلاك بورد أو السبورة السوداء على رأيي في بعد الهايبر
to do is take the blackboard, which is destructive variables, and get that vector variable and set it. So let's set.
Is the blackboard on the pawn?
This is how it's always worked for me. You tell me. I mean,
It's usually in the controller, but it's possible.
I think that this might actually talk up. This is how it's always worked for me.
هو بيقول دلوقتي إن تجيب
Edit. So let's set.
is the Blackboard on the phone.
بيقول له هات البلاك بورد on the phone، يعني على الفون أو اللي هو الفون.
This is how it's always worked for me.
يقول له أنا مش عارف الشكل إيه بالنسبة لي
I
يعني،
mean, you tell me.
بس بيقول له قول لي يعني.
I mean,
It's usually in the controller, but it's possible.
I think that this might actually talk up to the controller.
يقول له أنا يعني أفضل الكلام عن ال AI controller.
Yeah, I think that might be what it is. So you might not even need that. But I've just always done it that way. I guess, yeah, you're probably right. It probably just reroutes up through the
I mean,
controller.
you should be able to just remove.
يا جماعة لو أنتم ملاحظين إن الإنجليزي ضعيفة شوية، بس أنا بحاول أحسنها من خلال الفيديوهات ومعكم. بترجم بس مش أعلى حاجة.
The get control phone.
Get set value as the
node.
Yeah, we'll just test it out.
Yeah.
We'll just test that. Yeah.
على طول ده اختصار يعني. الراجل ده مميز أصلا.
But location is the name, and what I need to do is compile real fast. Okay, so location, you'll see I've set the name of the
النيم هيغير طبعا في ال default value
name variable to location, but the value is what's actually important.
Yes.
So we go into the default value and we change the value to
طبعا بيقول لك ده كله يقول لك هو اسم اللوكيشن، في default value هيكون اسم مختلف.
match that and say location.
برضه.
So location is now the value.
دلوقتي هو حدد الفاليو بتاعه أو القيمة بتاعته اللي هي location.
Which gets
الاسم طبعا.
really tricky when
and اسمين بتوع اسمهم location.
the name that has a.
That's why the variable shouldn't be named location, it should be named location key name.
اللوكيشن ده عبارة عن key name أو اسم اسم مفتاحي عشان تعرف اللي انت فاهم ده اللوكيشن اللي انت بتدور عليه من بدري. ما تروحش ورا.
Location key name, you like that? Okay, let's call it that instead.
That would be clearer. Because
Location
it's not location.
key name.
You're not storing
غيروا هنا فعلا لللوكيشن key name.
location in it.
You're right. It's the key
I
name.
know.
So the location key name is location. So we're transferring that info over here. So what this now says is run behavior tree, inject this brain into your guy, then reach into his brain and tell him find whatever location is, whatever we've named location, and set it to be this vector value. Now, I did a little bit of messing around before, and I got some numbers to put in. So 180.
اوكي ده اللوكيشن بيقول لك يعني اللوكيشن بتاع البيت.
Well, we can do it properly.
I'm just getting some numbers that I made up that are in the world.
But show people how to do things properly so that they can, you know.
Okay, sure, I'll show them how
I mean,
I did it. So
to make their life easier
I grabbed
in
a
the future.
block in the world, and then I looked at its location,
Okay.
and then I just typed in those numbers.
The best way would be put a.
فاتني حاجات انا بشرب ميه.
To make their life easier in the
I grabbed
future.
a block in the world, and then I looked at its location.
Okay.
تيجي تتأكد من الحاجات ديت من اللوكيشن بتاعها.
And then I just typed in those numbers.
The best way would be put a note on the level.
Yeah.
Put a note after level. So that's the way, you know, we used to things in Unreal 3.
Yes.
Go to the level, the viewport.
Okay.
Put a.
هو ده كله كان بيشرح له ان الموضوع سهل وممكن تروح دلوقتي الفيو بورد.
And then I looked at its location.
انت ممكن هنا بس.
And then I just typed in those numbers.
The best way would
افضل طريقة
be put a note on the level.
Yeah.
Put a note after on the level. So that's the way, you know, we used to things in Unreal 3.
Yes.
Go to the level, the viewport.
Okay.
اوكي.
Put a.
روح للليفل فيو بورد للنظرة العامة يعني في الفيديو.
Come on, don't.
I'm going up.
Put a note.
Okay, a note?
Note.
An actual, wow, I haven't put a note in a level in a while. Okay.
نوت أول مرة أشوفها.
It's a note. Look,
Yeah, put it anywhere you want the AI to go.
It's right there.
Because you can then use it, you know, to change location, even in simulation mode.
Okay.
And then, you know how to proceed? No?
No, I mean, I can go
Okay,
in here and I
yeah,
can
and-
get it from, I can like do get all actors of class,
Oh.
or I can get the,
You're right. That will work
what?
because it's not a
We're not a
blueprint.
level blueprint. Yeah, no,
هو هنا
it's right there. It's a
Because you
node.
can then use it, to change
Yeah.
location
Uh-huh.
even in simulation mode.
تقريبا هيخليه يجري ورا النور تقريبا على النور.
Okay.
And then you know how to proceed. No?
No, I mean, I can go
Okay,
in here and I
yeah,
can get
and-
it from, I can like do get all actors of class,
Oh.
or I can get the,
You're right. That will work
what?
because it's not a
We're not
level.
بيقول له عندك حق انت عمرك ما الموضوع مش هينجح
Level
صح؟
blueprint. Yeah. No.
Okay,
but
you're
this
right.
isn't a reference in the, oh,
Go. You're right.
في قطة دايسة على دماغه دي حاجة غيظني.
Okay, can I do it my way now? Is that
Yes,
okay?
you
Okay.
can. Yes,
Thank
you can.
Thank you. Thank you.
Because usually you prototype stuff in the level blueprint
Uh-huh.
where you can reference things that are on the level, and then you could just use it, plug it, put it here, use the get actor location, and plug it into the vector value.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's true. We just do get
But-
actor location of something.
But you're right. This
But
is a
this is-
controller which is level agnostic,
Yes.
and you cannot put
Okay.
a level
لذيذ الكلام ده مش شرط تعرفه انت كمشاهد حتى لو انت فاهم اكيد انت هتعمل كده.
specific references here.
Yep.
يا عم احنا عاوزين شرح مش عاوزين كلام على الفاضي.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah, I was wrong.
Alright, no.
I
تقول له كمل.
admit I was wrong.
I was just letting you explain that. So,
Sure.
Okay. So,
Go on.
so what we're doing here, when we're just direct injecting some numbers, is I figured out that there's like a vector out here by I clicked on one of these, just grabbed the numbers out of the location, and then I sort of messed them around.
تاخد الفكرة من الأماكن دوس على الحاجة زي ما أقول لك كده عشان
No,
تعرف
there's like a
مثلا هو داس هنا
vector out here by
على هذا المكعب.
I clicked on one.
هو كده عارف من هنا من هذا الجانب إن في شيء يعني عارف هنا المكان بتاعه فين فهو يجيب حاجة قريبة منه.
These just grab the numbers
أو دايما
out of the location, and then I sort of messed them around a little bit. And what I came up with was like 180, negative 670, and 150. And this will put you somewhere in the middle of that block over there. But point is, it has a value now. So when we start up again, he should have some numbers. So he tries to run to that
يو شفت راح فين؟
block because it's
راح لهنا راح للبلوك بتاعه هو هيمشي مع اللوكيشن اللي هو مديهوله.
somewhere within that block he's trying to
Nice.
get to. And that's it. So we've set that number, and now you know whenever you need to, that's just one way you can do it. You can hard set any number inside of his brain by just saying get the Blackboard
Okay.
and set value as vector. I didn't need that controller at all, though. You were totally right about that. So yeah, really good.
فبيقول لك دلوقتي انت بتحط اي رقم حسب المكان هيروح عليه هو على طول. بس انا شايف في حاجة غلط. الفيكتور فاليو لازم تسمي حاجة الشخص اللي يجري وراه.
But that's just an example. You don't need to
عارفين يا جماعة بقالي 45 دقيقة في هذه النقطة لسه فاضل ساعة لسه.
necessarily create a complex system to get your AI to go point A to point B. Just inject a number, make him go there. So we're going to get rid of that because
يقول لك يعني احنا مش هنحتاج الحاجات دي يعني ده مجرد بس ان انت بتعمل رقم معين هو بيجي عليه هو بيمشي عليه هو بيجري وراه فيعمل حاجة مختلفة.
it's not what we're going to be messing with in the future. I just wanted to show you. So that's about that for in here. We're going to jump back out of the AI controller. Now that it injects the brain, that's all that we really need it to do. And what we want to go to next is making the Blackboard here find
Okay.
oh, am I still simulating? No? There.
That's interesting. Close it, open it again.
I don't know what.
that's the.
Why are you making weird stuff happen? Because that's
BT debugger.
Oh, yeah.
Ah!
Aha, deal with it.
في مشكلة عنده في تهنيجة كده البيهايفر دي شغالة هو مش شغال.
So I'm just going to remake that real fast since it decided to trip out on me.
So a quick comment: the root node you start the BT with, you as a user.
Mm-hmm.
It's not an actual root of the behavior tree. It's a node that we have only for the editor so that you can specify BT's properties. The only property we have currently is the Blackboard asset, but if in future we wanted to introduce further properties, those would be
عمل select.
there as well. So you can, as you can see, you can only have one child of this
كنت عارف يبغى لازم أعمل select. بس خالص.
actor, while if you place an actual selector or sequence node, which is a composite node, you can have like any number of children.
So this is important because what I've done here is I've now added a selector, which is going to say that the first thing here, which is going to be another sequence, I'm just going to draw it in a sequence. If
عمل sequence ثانية.
this fails, do this. But if this succeeds, then forget about anything below it.
اوكي هو بيقول لك عشان تنجح دي لازم دي.
Another sequence, I'm just going to draw it here. Sequence. If this fails,
إذا دي فشلت.
do this.
إذا دي فشلت اعمل دي. لما تعمل دي دي النجاح ودي الفشل. اوكي دي النجاح ودي الفشل.
But if this succeeds, then forget about anything below it, which is the opposite of a sequence, which says if this succeeds, then move on to the next thing. But if it fails, just fail up and don't do the next.
بيقول إذا نجحت فهو هيروح للمفروض. إذا فشلت مش عارف شو بالظبط الأمر عموما لما إذا فشلت هيحصل السيكونس.
And that's why a good idea is to always have a
بيقول دي فكرة كويسة عشان أقدر أقول
fallback behavior that can never fail. Usually for me it's just a wait node so that I can identify that the behavior ended up in a node that I wasn't expecting. So you can easily find it in the logs or in the while looking at the behavior tree in the debugger. And it's like a wait a second and then retry, and it also saves you from the behavior tree looping constantly. That's why we could make tasks like that.
يقول ده يعني دي أحسن طريقة لتشغيل بهذا القصة عشان تمشي الدائرة بتاعتها.
Sure.
I'm just gonna make one though, and then
I didn't mean to go off script.
No, you're fine. You're okay. That was good info. Sorry, I don't want to make you paranoid about talking about it.
Yeah, I've noticed you do want to.
New task.
Oh.
عمرك شفت new task في حياتك.
So
حتى أنا ما دخلتش أنجز.
Even more than I am, because I am paranoid.
new task ديت بينقلك للبروجرام.
Jeez,
I'm kidding.
Bring you on streams.
That will teach you.
I have learned such a lesson. So what I'm gonna do here is, sorry, I started pressing buttons. I made this sequence here, but it has nothing under it.
السيكونس هنا مفيش أي حاجة.
We're going to start putting info into it. So I went up top here and I hit new task.
ضغط على new task أو مهمة جديدة.
And that spawned in a new blueprint task. It's a behavior tree task, I should say. A BT task.
مهمة للبيهيفير تري اللي اسمها BT task أو BT task. انتوا فاهمين مجمعين أكيد النقاط مع بعض. إذا كنت لغاية هنا أصلا
is something that you can run as an execution, like one of these. There's also Decorators and Services. The decorator works sort of like a gate or a checker. It makes sure that certain values and settings are a certain way.
ده يقول لك هو ده.
And that spawned in a new blueprint task. It's a behavior tree task, I should say. A BT task is something that you can run as an execution, like one of these. Also Decorators and Services.
الاثنين دول هو النيو حتى وقالها بسرعة.
The decorator works sort of like a gate or a checker. It makes sure
ده بيتأكد هذا النظام اللي هو واقف عليه دلوقتي الماوس بيتأكد
certain values and settings are
القيمة أو الإعدادات مظبوطة.
or a certain way
على نفس الطريقة.
for letting you activate or deactivate certain things.
بيأكد اللي بيتأكد يعني اللي هو إيه بيشغل اللي عاوز يشتغل وبيميت اللي هو عاوز.
A service runs a constant tick of some sort of information
سيرفر نيو سيرفر ده يقول لك ده عشان بياخد معلومات جديدة.
while passing through. So it attaches itself to one of these
You can
composite
even-
nodes or to a
Yeah.
task itself. Yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
لما جه قطعه قام ساكت تقول له يا
To a task. Same thing with the decorators. And what we'll do here is we'll go on ahead and make this base task. This
هيعمل أهم أول حاجة الأساسية
task that we're making,
أو المهم
which shows up immediately next to your behavior tree in the content browser, will be called find random location.
find random location في أهو كده ساكن جوه الصورة. هو هيفضل يتبع المكان اللي أنت فيه بعد كده. اوكي نايس. عجبني جدا جدا جدا.
So that will be exactly what it does. We're just going to go in here. We're going to go under the functions, and we're going to add in a receive execute AI.
Execute AI. Okay.
So when the task rolls over and hits this, it hits the execute node for receive execute, which then in turn triggers all the things. So what we need this to do is take the controlled pawn and get the location of your controlled pawn. So where
هو جاب event
over and hits this, it hits the execute node
execute AI. Okay.
for receive execute, which then in turn triggers all the things. So what we need this to do is take the controlled pawn and get the location of your controlled pawn. So
Get
wherever our
location. Get actor location. Okay.
robot is,
Control bound on the last.
we need to know that so that we can find a random place within a certain reasonable area of him. And then from this, we'll want to do get random point.
Get random points. Okay. والله بسكش حاجة دي معاك.
So there's two: get random point in navigable radius and get random reachable point in radius. So navigable means what it sounds like, anywhere within navigation, and then reachable is something not only in navigation, but we can also
Okay.
actually get to
أنا مبسوط جدا من الريفيو يا جماعة. التفصيل برضو اسمه لايك. فينا لايك.
it. It's not like off on a platform somewhere with no connections. Very, very important distinction when you're designing your levels. I'm going to set the radius to 3,000. That's just a number.
3000.
What?
How about making radius a task parameter? So that people know you can do that.
Okay, yeah. No, that's a great point. That's a great point.
So
I'm going to make a new.
I mean variable.
I'm going to make a new one. No, this is a good one. I think this is very valuable. I'm going to make a new
Float.
and I'm going to hit the I button right here. So the eyeball
الآي دي عشان يظهر بس.
opens, and that means it's exposed.
هيغير الديفولت فاليو بتاعه أعتقد.
Which actually reminds me in turn, I need to double check something. Yeah, is usable. I did expose that. Never mind. So
يا سخيف. متأكدش تاني بديل.
so it's exposed, which means that the task, like if I select this task here, you can see it's like task ignores restart self. It's got a couple of things in here. Well, now this should appear as a parameter of it, and
like
we will plug that right into there. Radius exposed. We can change the radius.
Okay. الموضوع سهل بس.
You don't need to worry about nav data or filter class. And then what we'll now do is we'll build a location
ده variable تاني.
key.
أعتقد أنت فاهمين.
So let's change this into a Blackboard, and I'm going to explain this kind of variable type here, a Blackboard Key Selector. Now, you actually know the background like of all the code behind this, so you might be better explaining it. I'll just give like a rough overlay here.
Okay. هو ده عمل Blackboard Key Selector.
here.
جاوب فيه.
Basically, the key, which I need to expose, also,
طبعا لازم تخلي
so,
عندك
we'll create one of these small, this right here, like little drop-down menus. You can actually see this in the
ده اللي هو اللوكيشن.
Blackboard key. And out of that, it will let you pick from the Blackboard whatever variable to inject information into. So, or take out of. So in this case, we're going to do set, and then we have Blackboard, blah, blah, blah. Set Blackboard value as vector.
set Blackboard value as vector.
The vector value will be the random number.
المنتج رهيب، اقسم بالله رهيب، اقسم بالله وجودك هنا في هذا التصنيف اللي انت فيه جامد، عشان كده في ناس بتسمر وناس معانا حاجة عاوزة.
And we're going to, I saw that.
جاب صورتهم كتيرة بيشرحوا ايه ده.
And so what we're going to do is take that and inject it here. So the location key.
اعتقد هم برضه شايفين في اللابتوب اللي جنبهم اللايف، هو لو بص كده ممكن يختار.
We can now set to whatever, and it's going to plug in that vector value. And then, very simply, we're going to finish.
ايش هذا؟
Whoops.
هو عمل ست عمل finish
If I spell that right.
finish
execute. And we're going to say success, because succeeding.
Okay, هو علم على success
value. And then, very simply, we're going to finish. Whoops. Helps if I spell that right. Finish, execute. And we're going to say success. Because succeeding or failing matters in our behavior tree, which is why they have a Boolean value here. You might actually force a failure, even though it went the way you wanted, just because it's helpful to fail instead of succeed in that instance.
One of the common mistakes is not calling the finish execute.
Yeah, very common.
Which results in a task just hanging.
Yeah, just hangs out.
Yeah.
So this is really important to remember. Always go in and make sure task finishes at some point. Otherwise, it will just hang out in there because it needs. The service, for instance, is going to think, well, you're still going. So I need to keep going and things like that. So
AI will just stuck.
Yeah.
Which looks broken. Is probably something you don't want to have to happen.
Yeah. So.
Okay,
we don't have to do anything special now that we made that task. It'll just appear in the list of tasks.
Should.
Find the random location. Oh my god. هو ده العقل الحقيقي. نطلب كل حاجة ببعض تتكون عقل.
Play disclaimer.
Does. Here it is. Find random location. And then we're actually going to, I can just copy this over, move to location, Control C, Control V.
يعني إذا حتى فشل هيروح برضه دي، يعني كل الأحوال هو كده رائع. صراحة إن هي حاجة روعة فنية سورية.
And then, why not? Wait. How?
So why do we have yet the second sequence?
You know what? We don't need it. You're right. Perfect. There we go. So now we've just replaced that sequence with our random one. Now let's actually put some parameters in here.
هو ليه مسح السيكونس؟ هو نقل كل حاجة هناك، مكتوب ويت راندم أيا كان اسمه، هو نقل كل حاجة اللي هنا على السيكونس الأولى خلاها في الآخر.
You know what? We don't need it. You're right. Sure. There we go. So now we've just replaced that sequence with our random one. Now let's actually put some parameters in here. Since this didn't have anything, let's put in 3000. This can be any number now.
هنا الديفولت ستوديو أعتقد، مش عارف أقرأ الكلام هون ده عملوا 3.
Because like you said, we've parameterized it. So it's just up here on the radius. Location key is going to be location. So once we get that random.
Okay, هو الرandom ده location. يقعد يدور على اللوكيشن اللي هو أصلا شخص يعني.
thing.
هو شخص هو لوكيشن عارف حتى في شعراء. أوكي إحنا بعدنا عن
Feed it
الموضوع.
off there, and that's about it. So now we should see him just picking out a series of random locations, stopping for a second, and then moving to another random location.
واو دلوقتي هو اتحرك تمام. بيعمل فايند اللوكيشن. هو مش شايفك انت دلوقتي كاكتور او كرسم تمام. هو بيدور على اللوكيشن اللي هو راندوم اللي هو عشوائي.
Where'd he go? There he is.
حاليا بيشوف راح فين.
Yeah, so now he's just picking random spots and moving to them. And this is actually probably really good for just about anything that's
Well,
not smart AI.
You can show people a glimpse of AI debugging tools. You can,
Yeah, so here's him making his decisions.
I didn't even mean that.
Yeah,
Yes, that's cool.
There we go. So let me just back it up a few times. We can watch the thought process. So this was
دي أول عملية.
him after going through stuff and waiting.
أول عملية عمل ويت
So he
أو انتظار.
waited somewhere. Next, he found a random location, and we can see the location over here.
طبعا تاني عملية عمليها إن هو راح فاين بين راندوم.
We'll update. See that?
ممكن.
It's different. Now we have a new location, which he's moving to, off of that location parameter. And once he reached it, he waited. And you're just going to see it keep cycling through. Find location, move to location, wait. Find location, move to location, wait.
كل اللي بيعمله اللي هو بيروح راندوم لوكيشن كده مفتوح وبعد كده wait.
And that's exactly what we programmed him to do.
Yes.
And it's really great for if you have a
فعلا رائع
forest full of little wild critters, and the wild critters don't need to think. They just need to find somewhere to be and put themselves there. And this might even be overkill for that.
Yes,
But
might be. But our behavior tree implementation is it's really efficient.
Yes.
So don't worry about running hundreds of behavior trees. We actually do run hundreds in Paragon, for example.
I mean, look at Fortnite. I mean, it's just tons.
No, there's more in Paragon because every minion has a behavior tree.
Oh, that's because the Fortnite was kind of like share like logic and do like a bunch of weird crap. And
Okay.
And then all that. But the minions in Paragon all have individual thought process.
Okay.
Which is, that's kind of bleak now that I'm thinking about we like killing them, but they think. Wow. Yeah.
All those
The poor little.
اللي جابه ده بيسلك لي.
Can you run it again and
أقول له دلوقتي أشوف بقى جدي أو جدي جدا أول ما بدأ الكلام حب بس
show the gameplay debugger?
Oh yeah. So actually, I was going to do that after adding perception in, so you can see the perception.
Okay.
But here I can just.
That's fine.
Okay, but here.
Now we gotta find the guy.
Well, he ran off. So there you go. Get back here. So if I hit the apostrophe key, we'll enter into debug mode, where we can actually see him choosing his path.
بص بيقول لك هو ده المكان هيتحرك فيه دلوقتي.
As he goes about, and there's a ton of info here. And off the numpad, I can hit different things to turn on and off different bits of info that I need and don't need. I'm not using EQS right now, so I don't need it. The behavior tree, it'll tell me what he's doing, but I don't need that. And if you have perception, which you'll have in a bit, we can see that too. I'm going to just leave this one on for right now. You can see when he chooses, that's the nav mesh chunking that he's using to figure out where he's going. And so he only has to process that much of the nav mesh to figure out.
No.
What?
That's his navigation corridor. That's the navigation nav mesh polygons that.
Yeah.
navigation أو نيجاتيف أو أيا كان اسمها إيه. navigation عبارة عن شيء في الأول فاكر فكرة بس إذا بيقول لك هو بيحدد له مساحة معينة من النافيجيشن أو المكان اللي يمشي فيه أو بيمشي من المكان اللي هو إيه الراندوم اللي هو قدامه أو بيمشي فيه فاهمني فبس في مكان معين يعني.
Build the final path.
Sorry, I thought that's what it sounded like I was thinking. But yes, that's what I meant was
that's cool.
It chooses the nav mesh chunks. If we're not calling them chunks, are we calling it a corridor? I didn't know that. I mean, that the line it draws is the corridor, right?
No, this whole thing is a corridor.
Oh, okay.
Those are nav-mesh polys that build the path.
That's interesting. I always
Okay.
thought of them as chunks. I didn't think that was called a corridor. I learned something new. That's all.
It's a corridor.
No, it makes sense. It makes perfect sense to call it like a corridor or hallway or something. Cool.
Anyway, yes.
Yeah. So that's how they kind of just use certain things in order to use it. Instead of using the entire nav mesh at once, they just light up certain sections and calculate that. Next. So
أخيرا. يا جماعة الواحد تعب يا جماعة تعب. أوكي نروح نكتب. نحن نكتب.
we've added in, whoa, what's this? Sorry, we've added in the find random location stuff. We've opened it up and shown you that new task.
سوري يا جماعة سوري واحد سمع. القطة اللي تحت دي تعمل إيه على راس الراجل المحترم؟ الكلام ده إيه؟
Now what we need to do is start thinking about how do we find something that's usable and then go to it and then
اوكي دلوقتي بيقول ان هو ازاي ايه الطريقة انك تخلي هذا الاي اي يتبع اليوزر.
shown you that new task. Now what we need to do is start
دلوقتي احنا عاوزين نبدأ
thinking about how do
التفكير فيه how
we
كيف
find
ازاي دلوقتي هنلاقي
something that's usable
something usable اللي هو الكاركتر او الاكتر بتاع القطة اللي عندي
and then go to it and then use it. So that
طبعا بنقول اللي هو اليوزر تمام is used اللي هو الموقع عنده برضه ويلاقيه.
that's the main core of it. So when we actually get through and build all these things out, we can then move on to taking, where did it go? Under AI, we can take the controller and we can add perception into it. And the way that we can do this is very simply, we add a component and we go AI and we have an AI perception component. It's all good?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, and remember to add the
هو ليه بيقول له اوكي ولا
AI perception component to the controller. It
Yeah.
should work on a pawn, but it's designed to be used on the controller.
And this is important because if it's on the controller, any pawn that we inject into this controller, I guess, it instantly gets its own thought process and pre-built senses and all that. So we don't have to make a separate one for each individual guy out there. They can all just run off of this one.
Okay.
And it instantiates onto each of them.
Yes.
So through this, we'll go over and we're just going to set up the AI perception from start to finish very basically with just sight. He doesn't need to worry about the other senses quite yet, and they all work relatively similarly. So dominant sense is going to be sight, which we're going to click here.
If you have just one sense, it doesn't really matter which one you set for. You don't have
AI perception. perception أنا أعتقد كلام عن التصرف.
Set the dominant sense. So the dominant sense variable value is used to determine whatever the perception process.
Reception. AI perception.
Thinks is the actual location of an actor if you have conflicting information.
ديت عبارة عن معلومات فيها ال AI perception.
From different senses.
Okay. I mean, yeah, it's important. It's important to know. No, but if you're going to have multiple senses, then just make sure to set up a dominant. But if it's just the one, then yeah, he's right. There's no reason. I'm just doing a couple of things for safety's sake because I assume you're going to want to expand off of this. Let's see here. Next up in this, we're going to add in just the configuration. So under the senses config.
Sense config ولا بسرعة عليه. Okay.
hit the plus button,
عمل بلس
and then
بوتون.
a little new drop down will appear. From that, we're going to set up your site configuration.
AI site config. Okay.
Drop down this other sense information.
Okay.
There's two little
sense اللي هو الإحساس. إحساس.
arrows.
يعمل فعلا برين للحاجة دي، فده إحساس، فيديو إحساس، مش إحساس فعلا إحساس.
And we just need to do detection by affiliation. Since we're not working with teams or anything like that, let's just detect everybody using this. So detect, check all the checkboxes, enemies, neutrals, friendlies. Anything else you'd want to have me turn on here? That should work, because that's all I'm going to do, unless there's other things you suggest.
كونوا منتظرين جدا فيديو الريفيو، كونوا منتظرين فيديو الشرح، كونوا منتظرين فيديو ملخص هذا الفيديو. تمام. فنصيحة، اشترك في القناة وتأكد من كده كويس، لأن الموضوع مش هيقف هنا. في حاجات كتير جدا هنتعمق فيها أكتر. مجالات 3D، بلندر، احنا راجعين تاني بلندر، راجعين تاني للموبايل، راجعين تاني حاجات كتير. هيكون كل أسبوع حاجة. تمام. يعني مثلا أنريل إنجن هذا الأسبوع، ده بلندر الأسبوع اللي بعده. أوكي. وبعد كده موبايل الأسبوع اللي بعده. يعني ده أسابيع. في منهم أسبوع اللي هو الأسبوع الرابع اللي هو آخر أسبوع في الشهر، هيكون بقى متنوع، مش هيكون حاجة لوحدها أو ثابتة. فأتمنى يعجبكم هذا النظام.
And that will give us the ability to look around. And now if I hit play and I hit that debugger again, when he runs around and I hit 4, the number 4 will allow me to see.
Okay, نطول حلو.
And that's provision to can know me and he can.
إزاي نخليه يعرفني.
Then transfer that information. So let's go back to the AI perception here. And then on perception updated, that was that little ball showing up was the update.
Okay. On أنا لسه قايل حاجة. Perception. Yes. On perception. Updates. AI perception.
Happening.
القطة دي بتعمل إيه هنا؟
We're going to make this
ماشي.
event called on perception updated for the AI perception, and then off of the updated actors, we're going to do a for each.
Okay. For each loop.
For each loop. Oops. Actually, I'm going to do this with a break. So loop for each loop with break. So when we run.
For each loop. For each loop with break.
Over actors in the world, we're going to just scrub through them real fast and see who they are and judge them according to various values we've set up. Now, if you remember, we put in that interface.
Okay. ملهاش لازمة أترجم الحتة دي.
But
interface عادي.
It says implement
الواجهة
interface, not add. So let's look up to see if something does implement the interface. So the end user
does implement interface
is what we're going to check against for a lot of our logic.
Use update interface access use it.
So yes. Whoa. What did you make me call it?
Usable.
غلط. Usable thing interface. Yes, وصلنا كده للبرين. فعلا بدأنا نعمل عقل دي.
Yeah, usable thing interface. There we go.
أو AI, yeah.
So we've added in this node, which is a check, to see if the target, which is everything that's entered into its line of sight, if any of those targets do in fact implement the interface usable thing interface.
القطة والله يعني بمناسبة الأغنية اللي هتنزل كمان كام يوم بتوقيت تقريبا يتم التجديد.
Face and smacking the cat.
بيحاول يشيل القطة من على دماغه لايف جاي عليه بزيادة.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
والله المنتج زي الفل معاه والله، يعني المخرج والمنتج زي الفل. صورة أقسم بالله، يعني لما أعمل كده خلي القطة تطير.
So
حتى الضحك قلت.
we can then branch from there. A branch is essentially an if statement. If you're not familiar, you
Branch.
can actually
أوكي عامل برانش.
type in if and they will show up. See, if makes a branch. Look at that.
هي إف برانش، يعني الإف هي برانش.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
Or we can press B and click in the world anywhere.
وات؟ اختصارها بي؟
Two different ways to make a branch. It's very common.
كنترول بي؟ كنترول بي صح؟
Confusing. No, it's not. It's helpful and convenient. And then from that we
طبعا بيقول له إيه ده؟ مش أعرف. والله يا أخي مش وقت، أو شكلك زهقان فاهم. بقالك ساعة.
now can this is like working as an is valid check. We now know whether or not this thing coming through is in fact a usable thing. From there we can say, hey, usable thing, can
قلت رجعت تاني. Can use
we use you? So we're going
اللي هو for each loop with break. خرج منه هذا الشيء لو كان
to
use.
message out to that thing. We're going to activate can use.
اللي هو المسج. أوكي. مسج.
There you go. There's that little thing we made earlier, and I'm going to make some reroute notes that's a little cleaner, and you can see what we're doing.
ترى على false ولا على true.
So the
برضه قلت على برضه
it's
كده.
so much fun. And I'm going to make some reroute notes that's a little cleaner, and you can see what we're doing.
ركز هنا تحت.
So the we're having so much fun. Oh yeah.
فعلا. قال له والله معلش والله، قال له حاجة مضحكة جدا.
So can use.
أو حاجة ممتعة جدا.
Can use was the value that we've created here in the top-down guy. Like I said before, all it's doing is passing in the is usable variable straight out here, and so we can just make another branch from this.
برانش تاني.
Ta-da! And that's all that we need to do our check. So our check says,
True
does it have the interface,
branch.
and
Yes, we will go.
it's something we can still use, even though it has that interface. We're not sure if it has been used before and cannot be reused. From that, if that is all true, all of that is true, then we're going to want to set some stuff. So let's get Blackboard again. So we're going to want to
برضه with Blackboard.
set the Blackboard's target actor, because now we know this is the thing we want to target. It entered our site so we can see it. It's a thing that can be used, and it's not checked off as being unusable. So is usable? If so, set value. Let's do set value as object. Now we're going to need to make a new key
Okay.
name.
كنتوا عارفين يقول لك set value as object.
So we're just going to change the location key, because we don't need the location key anymore. We're just going to change this to actor key name.
Okay.
Compile, and then we're going to change the target. The actor
قلت بتسحب من فوق وانت معفوف. شوف انت لما
key name variable
سحبت غير
default value.
Okay, هو default value هو اللي
Value into target actor, which is what we call the Blackboard variable. So we want to change that variable inside of the
Blackboard key.
Sorry, key. I mean, is that really a? I guess that is a big difference.
Well, you have key
المخرج ضعيف والله.
selectors for Blackboard, so
Yeah.
they
Okay.
select values by keys.
Okay.
It's a kind of a map.
That makes a lot of sense. It does. So now we've told it this is the key to look for by name.
قلنا key اللي هو by name طبعا غيروا التارجت actor.
And the Blackboard that we're going to be using
القطة.
we're trying to get to. Okay.
Cat.
Yeah, no, I got.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
my cat.
Not anymore.
Hello, this is my cat. Hello, not anymore.
Oh. So finally, we want to set that value to be whatever this approved usable thing is. And if we do approve that usable thing, then whoa, break.
Okay.
Cool.
يعني
And
على
I'm actually going
proceed.
to add a reroute note so this is cleaner. So otherwise it'll just complete out and nothing will happen. And we won't get any updates, and that just happens sometimes. So he's just not going to see something usable all the time. So that's what perception is. The perception just
أنا كده أحس إن في عقل فعلا، في عقل في دماغ كده لل AI فعلا.
creates the overlap event. The overlap event then drags all that information through here. We parse it out and validate that it is in fact what we want. And then we reach up and we tell our Blackboard
الجزء الأولاني
event, the overlap event then drags all that information through here. We
إن هنا الجزء ده هيكون فيه جمع معلومات
parse it out and validate that
أو رمي معلومات صح؟
it is in fact what we want. And then we reach up and we tell our Blackboard, hey,
هنا هتقول البلاك بورد هاي أنا موجود، ممكن أستخدمك
find, the target
أو اعمل لي فاين أو يعني لاقيني
actor and
أو لاقي هذا الشيء.
Cool. So that's how you pass that information out to your Blackboard to get a target actor.
For example, yes.
For example, yes. So cool. Now we have that info. And what we're going to do with it is we're going to immediately put it to use so you can see it in action. And then I'm going to move on to the actual usability. So now we've got the ability to find a usable thing. We're going to add in a sequence
سيكونس ثانية في
to our Blackboard. And we're going to say in here, add a decorator. The decorator, like I said, is a gate. We're going to do a Blackboard Decorator. And what the Blackboard base can do
دي حاجة جديدة برضه أول مرة أعرفها في حياتي، أول مرة
action
الحاجات دي الناس بتحاول
decorator does is it lets us say notify observer. So this is our observer. So notify us on value change. And the observer will abort lower priority. So this stuff's
Nice.
lower in the chain, starts to the left and moves away down. So if we are to set our target actor to something,
تارجت أكتر
we should stop wandering
صغير تقريبا في النظام كده.
randomly, because that means we saw something we want, and we should move to it, right? So we'll do
أوكي هو دلوقتي هيعمل
move to
في اسمه ده التارجت كاركتر هو شوت داون كاركتر.
and we'll change it from self actor to target actor. All good?
That's
cool.
زي الفل.
So he immediately walks right past me and ignores me. So I need to figure out what I did where he didn't get a target actor. Okay, so I open this back up.
Yeah,
في غلط حصل في البث المباشر قدام ناس كتير أوي.
target actor will not set. Not being set.
Not being set. Oh, did I miss the target actor set value?
You can put breakpoints here and then
Yeah,
see.
let's just put a breakpoint in here and make sure that he's actually seeing stuff. So I'm going to put a breakpoint with
زي ما انت شايف هنا في حاجة مكتوبة اسمها
F9, and we're going to see if we're actually getting to the point where he's seeing something with an interface.
في مشكلة في البرانش على
Hit play. He ran away this time, so now I got to catch up with him. Get over here. Yep, there we go. Yep, and you know what it is?
أول مشكلة في البرانش. واو يا أخي أقسم بالله السهم ده ما يجيليش دلوقتي هيجيلي أنا معرفش الحاجات دي في سهم حاجة حمراء يعني مش مشكلة.
If we hit can use, but by default, can use is deactivated.
Aha!
So what we need to
debugging
do,
for the win.
so, well, this was great. I got to actually show you why you want to debug these. So since we exposed is usable earlier, I can just go into the default of our guy and check on is usable.
Aha!
There, now he'll pass that check.
Perfect.
And now when this guy sees me, he will
Peekaboo.
pow. Well, he hits
Boom.
this branch.
مشكلة كبيرة، حلوها بقى.
To deactivate that.
اتنين خبراء قاعدين قدامي بيشرحوا لي، ومن أنريل إنجن، بس نفسها من إيبك جيم، من أنريل إنجن، شركة أنريل إنجن خاصة دخلت إيبك جيم يشرحوا لي إزاي تعملوا غلط زي ده في البث المباشر، إزاي؟ واي؟ لماذا؟
And then I can't resume. I have to, of course.
What was the button?
There was a button. But now he's gonna chase me.
No.
No, and he's
أوكي، طب حلتها
to
إزاي؟
deactivate that. And then I can't resume. I have to, of course.
محلش أي حاجة.
What was the button?
There was a button. But now he's gonna chase me.
هو دلوقتي لما جه قدامه جري وراه.
No, and he's just gonna chase me forever. And
هيفضل يجري وراه فور ايفر.
so now we have a basic chase. He doesn't have any other logic. He doesn't know when to stop chasing me. And once he catches me, he just starts losing it. Look at this. He's just like, I don't know what to do. I got you. I got you. And I.
هو دلوقتي عمال يفكر اروح هنا لا اروح هنا، اروح هنا لا اروح هنا. هو بيجري هنا بس المفروض بقى هنا تكملة العقل قدام حوالي 30 دقيقة.
don't have any instructions past that. So he moves to the target actor, and then we need him to do something. So the thing we want him to do is use, right? So let's make a new use. So let's make new, let me scroll down a little bit here. The last thing in this tutorial will be the most ultimate.
آخر شيء نذكره في هذا الشرح، شرح ممل حتى يعني المخرج كان نايم زهق، كان كل شوية يلعب في القطة يجيبها على الشاشة زهق.
Of them, the thing that actually does stuff. So we're going to make a new task by clicking on here just like we did for the find random location. And we're going to do this not based off find random location, but the BT task blueprint.
Okay.
It opens up.
لو ركزتوا هنا
So we're
حاجة
going
مهمة.
to make a new task by clicking on here
هنضغط على النيو تاسك
just like we did for the find random location. And we're going
جاله خيارين بي تي
to do this not based
هي
off
بي
find
تي الأولانية
random location, but the BT task blueprint.
نفس اللي هي بي تي برايفت.
It opens up a new one, but we're going to rename it in here. It shows up again
يس أنا كنت نضيف حاجة هنا عشان أفتح، أعتقد دي أوي.
next to this.
يس هي دي بقى.
Getting a little over time, I'm sorry guys. And then in here,
Not yet, right? Do
do
we have a time limit actually?
No. I just try to keep these things like at an hour, but we're at an hour 15. So here at our task, this is going to be use object, I guess is what I'm going to call it. Use object. That's objects. I did that funky. There you go. Use object.
غيرت حتى في أوكي مش عايز أعلق أكتر من كده. يس.
Use object now is here, and it also will just immediately appear in here. Use object. Cut off. Click. But we don't need.
أوكي. هنا بقى النقطة الأخيرة اللي يكتب بيها الموضوع، فيلا ننجز الموضوع عشان هتعب جامد والله.
We don't need to just inject it quite yet because we need to put in some variables first. First, we're going to need some keys. Target actor key will be our first key. And then, let's see here. We're going to need, sorry, checking my notes really fast.
أنا بحاول بس أتجاهل الحاجات اللي بره، الأوقات اللي بره لأنها مقرفة جدا، ويا ريتني كان عندي مايك احترافي وقعدت حتة رايقة وهادية. أوكي.
We're going to need to make this into the actual key type.
طيب.
Key, Blackboard Key Selector, there.
Cool.
And now we're going to make a new event. This will be event
function.
receive AI execute.
AI.
Sorry.
Okay.
Now you'll notice that there's two different
يعني الحركة لذيذة.
kinds of executions, execute and execute AI. There's this for all of them, and basically one of them will return the controller only.
القطة. لا والله ده.
And the other one gives you the controller and the controlled pawn, which is important. We need the controlled pawn, so we just might as well skip. Normally,
يعني مخرج مش عارفين نركز في القطة ولا في الشرح. أنت عارف.
you just do this, and it's like get controlled pawn, blah blah
So
blah.
the non-AI version is there because you can use behavior trees not only with AI. You can use behavior trees. I know there are people that are using behavior trees for a UI flow. for example, and you can embed this logic in other places. When you have both implemented, and you don't have an AI controller, the other will be called. But if you use the same behavior tree with an AI controller, the version, the execute AI version will be called.
يقول لك عشان تستخدم البيهايفر تري لازم يكون عندك، لازم تعمل نيو تاسك وتعمل ايفنت execute AI، تمام، أو reserve تقريبا execute AI، لازم دي تكون بتعمل.
Yep.
It's just flexible this way.
Great. All right, so I'm going to take that target key and we're going to do get Blackboard value as object. All right.
Okay.
So now we have the actor in question, and we can actually tell it. We can actually do does implement interface.
Okay, does implement interface.
Ta-da! So we can actually double check this too, as well. In here, we could do this in the logic of the use function or in the logic of wherever, as long as we get that logic in there somewhere. I just wanted to call it after we've discovered things, and we were not going to get much further without discovering things.
Okay.
So actually, this is just going to be an is valid check, basically, that I don't.
والله يا جماعة الموضوع باين عليه لو ضخم فعلا، بس أعتقد لو عملت أنا الشرح بتاعي يكون الموضوع أسهل من كده بكتير، هيسهلوا عليك على قد ما تمام، وأنت هتتبسط جدا إن شاء الله. عاوز 30 و40 لايك 50 لايك كده و500 تعليق كده على الفيديو بتاع الشرح بتاع هذا الموضوع، ده هيكون خرافي، تمام. طبعا مش هينزل الشرح إلا لما أتأكد 100% من النظام اللي هما بيقولوا ده، فبس تعالوا نكمل بقى.
Need usable thing interface. So, but it's just going to be helpful for doing valid check branch. Cool. So now we know that it does in fact implement that again. Used. So from that actor, we know it does have usable functionality. So we're going to try to call used on it. And the using actor, which I think I said usering actor actually.
That's fine.
Okay, well that's just great.
Okay. الله شوف الموضوع سهل.
English.
Yeah, and it's going to be our controlled pawn.
أنا عارف التركيز ده هيكون صعب أول مرة، بس يعني إن شاء الله هحاول أسهله لك.
So now when we get used, we pass in that AI that's using it. And I'm just going to set this value like you did before. We said let's parameterize it. Sure, why not? I'll promote this to a variable and call this value. And then I'll expose it. I got to expose both of these actually.
Okay. ظهرهم بس لازم تتأكد إنهم ظاهرين variable. اسمه variable. لازم يكون ظاهر.
So that's.
Okay.
But what we also want to do is call use object on the controlled pawn. So the robot that is doing the using should be told, you're using something. Perform your use animation.
Okay.
And then the thing being used is being told, hey, you're being used. Prepare to receive values. And then after that, we'll do a finish, of course.
It should actually be, you should be calling function only on the thing you're controlling. And if it has any effect in the world, like
لازم تنهيها finish queue.
A thing being used or like opening chests, this shouldn't come from AI logic. This should come from like the action that
زي ما شفت هنا use object عندنا use
agent is performing. So we should be. This is fine for prototyping. The actual set
دي الحاجات طبعا شرح
should be set up. Should be we're calling a function on us. Use this object, and then inside the function of using this object, we would call use object on the object inside the function.
Okay, that's interesting. So the way that you would set it up is instead this would say use object. Within the functionality of use object, it would then reach out and touch the thing we're using
and call a function on
and call a function on that. So that's a good way to do it.
That would be the clearer way of doing things, because you can have some logic in your use object or function that forbids you from actually using it. And your brain might still want to use it, but the mechanics of the world don't allow it. So AI logic should be just requesting actions, not making them happen in the world.
Okay. All right. That's my bad, I guess.
No, that's just, you know,
هو بيشرح له حاجة تانية خالص بعيد عن الموضوع اللي بتتكلم فيه. فهو بيقول إن يعني إيه، مش شرط حاجات تفهمها دلوقتي، بس يعني موضوع كبير. هو بيقول له خلاص أنا هكتفي بده يعني.
good rule of thumb while working on AI.
Okay.
Okay.
The last thing I'm going to pass in here in my little logic thing is I'm just going to pass this because we did the used object should be. I must know to set this to a proper. Oh, because this is an object and it wants an actor. But we could pass in whatever other logic we want to the used object. And actually, if we open up this, we'll see the functionality in the interface. So cool. Now we have use object, and I'm gonna have to exit out of here and reopen it to get the new functionality. I might even have to like save and reload.
اوكي خلصنا كل حاجة تقريبا. اختصار
Yeah, let me compile,
we have to compile
save.
it.
Yeah, compiling it makes perfect sense. Okay, now we can see there's all my parameters I've added. The target is now target actor.
اوكي التارجت بتاع التارجت
For the target actor key, and I'm gonna make value of 1.
لازم يكون 1 ما يكونش 0 مش هيتحرك.
So we're just gonna add 1. All right, and then that's about it. But I'm gonna put in a small wait, so when he actually comes up and pokes you, he'll stop for
ويت هيكون عشان تقدر انت تتحرك.
a second, so we can see that he's doing
3 ثواني برضه.
something. I put it for 3 seconds, and so now let's kick off. When we have a target actor, move to the target actor.
طبعا عاوز تعلي 3 ثواني 5 ثواني 10 ثواني براحتك انت. بصراحة.
Use the target actor and then wait for a second. And then part of that use is actually going to make me unusable because it turns off the use as we said it before in the functionality. So he's only going to try to use me once and then he'll move on to doing something else. He's going to come up, going to poke me.
كان شايف ذكي جدا جدا جدا.
And he's going to keep coming for me. Oh, you know why?
كان شايف الرقم اللي فوق كمان بيتغير بقى 2.
And actually it's written down here in my notes and I totally skipped this one note. He's going to keep coming for me. And then he's going to keep coming for me. Oh, you know why? And actually it's written down here in my notes and I totally skipped this one note.
3 مرات تقريبا. ممكن تعمل لعبة زي كده.
He's going to keep coming for me.
فكرة بسيطة بس حلوة. والله ممكن أعمل لعبة زي كده وأنشرها فعلا. عشان تعرف ازاي تنشر لعبتك على النت وتتباع في أسلوبين. الأسلوب الأولاني ستيم والأسلوب الثاني ممكن تبيع على ستيم. هيطلب منك فلوس. ستيم هيطلب منك فلوس. ستيم هيطلب منك $100. اكس بوكس بصراحة يعني ممكن أقل من كده.
Because I'm still set as target actor. In the use object, we actually need to take the key actor here and clear it. Yeah. Ha ha ha.
عارف الغلطة فين اهو.
Sorry. It's like it's right there in my notes. Clear Blackboard value, and I
يعتذر منك.
went right past it. Okay, so this is an important note. You need to make sure that once you've used something to clear it, or else it will stay in their memory.
Clear break value. The Blackboard value.
Forever and ever and ever. So now he knows.
بيعمل clear يعني بيمسح كل حاجة.
Once I've interacted with you, I'm done thinking about you. We're over. Goodbye.
ومشي. لو وقف عنده كده خلاص ما تشوف ما تتحركش. فاهم؟ حلو الأسلوب اللي هو لعبة عايز زمان بس تلعبها على الكمبيوتر بتاعك أو الإكس بوكس أو البلاي ستيشن بتاعك نفس الطريقة. الموضوع بس عايز شوية متاهات تتوه فيها شوية أنت وأصحابك والفكرة هتكون خرافية. عندك لازم يكون معاك فلوس تدفع يعني. بس عموما الفترة الجاية هيكون في إعلانات كتير يا جماعة إن شاء الله. أي تفاعلوا مع أي حاجة بعلن عنها تفاعلوا مع جديد.
Hi. And now he doesn't care about me anymore. And now he's going to have a really hard time caring about me. Like I enter here, he doesn't care. He does not care. So what is it? Okay, so I am going to eject out of him, select him here, And if you see my is usable got turned off, but if I turn it back on, I'm now usable and I'm interesting again to him. Now he has interest in me, and I can put myself in the world, and hopefully he'll catch on to my presence. Oh wow, he unchecked it again.
Okay, already
اوكي.
the
طبعا هو انا بيقول ان انا لما علمت هنا على اي فيديو هو متاح للسر يعني. انا خلاص ازاي ايزي تبقى انت فاهم.
He had already.
تعرف تبقى
See, there he goes. He
وانا شايف هو لما علم عليها هو جاله على طول. لما جه قدامه على طول وجاله.
did it again. He just used me again. But if I possess again, whoops, ha ha ha. I possessed him, but he didn't have his camera set up. But see, I've got that one now, which is great.
تبقى عليه هو رقم واحد هو مثله مرة.
So that's awesome. Now he can transfer that one to me. I went at 0 and I'm now at 1. Yay!
Yay!
So that,
اهو تطبيق عادي يعني. انا كنت انت ما سبتنيش انا زيرو ها نقطة بايخ هم ضحكوا عليها عادي يعني. ما قالوش كده بالظبط بس يعني ملخص ضحك يعني ضحكة ملخص النكتة.
that's it.
Stuff works.
Yes, so that's just how you can easily set up a series of thought processes for run around, find something, transfer information, and all that. And don't forget to duplicate, I guess, your idle animation, or at least reset it. Because otherwise you'll end up with what I've done here, where I've set myself up with an idle. But he used me, I've got a 1, dang.
بس شايف هذا النظام مش عقل كامل يعني في حاجة ناقصة في هذا الموضوع. فإذا ما حصلش حاجة في خلال كام دقيقة ثانية فالفيديو هتديله تقييم. في آخر هذا الفيديو في تقييم للفيديو اللي أنا بعمل عليه غلط بتاعي، واللي يتعمل عليه شرح، واللي يتعمل عليه ريفيو، واللي هيتعمل حاجات كتير جدا عملت على الفيديوهات عشان نفهم الحاجات البسيطة ومن غير الأشياء يعني بس اللي بعمله كده.
So used.
Yeah, but that's it. That's using to its T. Now, to expand off of that, I could apply that is usable functionality to a block in here, like turn this into a blueprint, apply the is usable interface, because that's what it's looking for, is an actor with that interface. And then I could just give it that variable value and then feed it into the function for can use. And then it'd be done. Anything in the world now is a usable object that he can see and attempt to interact with and transfer data between him and that object.
دلوقتي بيقول لك ال AI دلوقتي عنده القدرة إن هو يكون في كل مكان ويعدي في كل حتة في الماب، وكمان هو معاك في الماب يعني هو في كل حاجة كل حتة. فدلوقتي إيه دلوقتي أنت دلوقتي عشان هو فعل اليوزابل عشان عمل عشان عمل نعمل كل الحاجات دي فبقت بإمكانه اللي هو يتجاوز بقى في كل مكان، وكمان اللي هو ينفك أو يعدي عليك
object. And as Mieszko said, you might want to actually take out the using stuff and put it into the logic of the actual AI.
User.
Yeah, the actual user of stuff. But overall, that's the general functionality of it. We have quite a few questions coming in, so I'm going to answer these we're going to answer them together, the Q&A section. And wow, thank you all, Adam and Samantha, for getting.
عامل شكر كده يا جماعة في الكومنتات. عارف الكومنتات اللي تحت لكن الكومنتات على الرسم بس موجودة يعني. ظبطت بس.
Questions. So we have a few from the forums first. The first question is, what would it take to get nav meshes on moving platforms?
A lot of coding.
اوكي اعتقد كده خلصنا الفيديو وبعد كده نرد على الأسئلة.
Coding.
قدم.
Sense when it stops getting when you enter a moving.
اوكي خلصنا الفيديو. سوف تترد على الأسئلة، وطبعا إذا عندك سؤال قول لي كنت أقول كل حاجة في هذا الفيديو أو في هذا الاسم العشر الضخم جدا يخد مني ممكن نقول يومين تقريبا في التسجيل، نقول يوم كامل في التسجيل ويوم مونتاج. فيديو هينزل يوم 10 إن شاء الله، وهينزل يعني النهاردة 10، لا 11، يوم 11 هجري، اللي هو هيكون يوم 9، هيكون يوم 9. فإذا كنت متحمس جدا لفكرة هذا الفيديو، قول السعرات إيه؟ أما السعرات العمومية أو كده هتكون موجودة. تمام؟ طبعا هيكون فيديو عرض أول. وبس ده كان كل حاجة. أتمنى يكون عجبك الموضوع بتاع الموضوع. و أوكي، قول لي رأيك في تعليقات، أو مش تعليق، قول لي رأيك في اللايك والديسلايك. أوكي، يعني الفيديو لو جاب 20 لايك، أوكي، فأكيد هنزل فيديو زي ده كل شهر. كل شهر يكون عندنا هذه النوعية من الفيديوهات، اللي هيكون فيها ريفيو، اللي هيكون فيها مراجعة، يعني هي ريفيو، هيكون فيها ردة فعل، اللي هيكون فيها شرح، اللي هيكون فيها ملخص. فيديو كبير عظيم كبير جدا صراحة، مجهود رهيب. أتمنى يكون عجبك الحاجات البسيطة اللي اتعرضت في هذا الفيديو. أتمنى يكون ده يعني مش أحسن أداء مني في الفيديوهات، لكن أتمنى يكون عجبك الفيديو، وأشوفك